I like that. I was hoping to hear that.
Apparently it is. That's really strange though.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you're good.
that's something weird there. So, yeah. So weird. What's that? Oh, wait. Yes, it does let me. Okay. Huh.
Nine oh three, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mochler,
Here.
Graylobe.
Here.
Brady.
Here.
Easy.
Here.
Gilbert sitting.
Here.
Approve agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion passes. Any conflict of interest declarations? Hearing none. Approved minutes for the July 30th meeting.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Motion passes. Are there any visitors to be heard whose topic doesn't appear on the agenda? Hearing none, regular business, Clay County Conservation District. You could either come to the podium or sit at the table.
Okay, good morning, my name is Todd Christensen. I'm here with, Scott Jepson, Bob Ball, and Kurt Ward from the Board of Supervisors of Clay County Conservation District. I've given you a sheet of information, kind of gives you a little history of what it's, our purpose. I'll get to our request in a little bit. I'll cover a little bit of what we have done in history. Conservation districts are formed as a legal subdivision of the state government. And we work with the local residents, conservation projects, and we all work real closely with the NRCS, federal agency, USDA. So, I should mention our Missy Cahill is our part-time district manager. She had previous commitments at the FSA office to she could be present, but we'll try to answer any questions you may have after I do this. So where we're at today, we received funding from the county of $25,000 subsidy until 2023. At that time, we got cut off from the county. So we just been trying to scratch by. We provide services to residents and landowners of grass filling in conjunction with CRP acres usually, and filter strips, grass filling, and tree planting. So then we maintain some older equipment to do this, and we try to charge reasonable rates, just enough to pay our expenses, pay our employees, and just have a little carryover at the end of the year so we can operate again next year. So what has happened this year is we've been managing pretty good the last 4 years. We've been kind of just about breaking even, managing to keep our head above water and pay our seasonal help for tree planting. And Missy, she's part-time for us. It's our district manager, which is does a good job for us on a part-time basis. So, big thing we had this year was our old Dodge pickup that hauls our equipment around to do tree planting and stuff. Tranny went out on it. So that was an extra expense. It was about $5,000 to replace the tranny on that. And until this year, the equipment companies like Case IH and Yankton or John Deere and Beresford, in the previous years, they would let us use a brand new tractor to pull our drill. Let us put 100 hours on it, and then they would come and get it, exchange it with another one. I think it was the government program, probably they would give a tax benefit off of it, sure. But anyway, that went away this year. Their corporate policy changed, and no longer get the free use of a tractor to pull our drill. So that's that. Luckily, Bob Solomon, driver of the, was a seasonal driver for our grass drilling. He let us use one of his tractors, and we'd give him a modest fee per hour to use his tractor. But it came out to about another $5,000. It was an extra expense that we just had to come up with this year. So it's getting pretty tight. We're getting pretty down to nip and tuck if we've got enough money to kind of keep everything functioning and keep our equipment in decent repair. So the extra $5,000, the tranny repair, and then the extra $5,000 that we have to pay for tractor use now. That's what we're requesting, the $10,000 total subsidy for 2027. So, and if you have any questions off that, kind of the summary of what we've done, we'll try to answer any questions. But thank you for your consideration, and hope we can help us out a little bit.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention though, we're voluntary too, and we serve voluntary, so we're not experts, but we try to do what we can, you know.
I got a quick question for you. So what are the impacts on the work you do on flood damage in the county or flood potential? So does any of your work establishing CRP ground or anything like that? I'm thinking about indirect benefits that are brought across the county. So what are the impacts on watersheds of the work you do?
We do filter strips. They're like through NRCS. There may be incentives for farmers to plant filter strips and stuff. And then NRCS will say, here, we'll order the seed and stuff like that they need. And that's another thing we do I didn't mention. We sell hand plant trees too. We get stock from the state nursery, and we try to sell them at reasonable cost so that it's affordable for anybody. But yeah, trees and grass strips, we do anything. Well, I think we did what we did.
County had a program that had filters along the creek beds and stuff like that, and so they did quite a few acres over in Union County just for that particular reason to runoff.
Mrs. said it was
Thank
like
you.
130 acres we did along the Bruley Creek over there, all filter strips over there. So,
Yeah.
we're that's our mission.
Yep. No, thank you.
In the past, farm bills, has any money been provided through there? I know.
Not through the USDA,
Okay,
but
Any other questions? Thank you. Dr. Stanage. Yes.
It's on.
Yeah, they're always on.
Mike, okay. So I'm Tom Stanage, and I'm the Executive Director of Lewis and Clark. behavioral health services. I've been before this body asking for support for this is my 32nd year. I'm not sure how many I have left in me, but I do know this is my 32nd year. That I usually in the past have talked to you about our patient services and talk to you about the services that we provide to kids in schools and in their homes. In the past, we focused a lot on the outpatient services that we provided to individuals who had severe and persistent mental illnesses. Individuals who, when I started in my career, were mostly in the Human Services Center. And I'd share with you and talk to the auditor about how many people the county was paying for at the Human Services Center. Well, times have changed. I think you know that for the past probably 10 years, we've been really trying to develop crisis care services. And we've done it. Like just a year ago, this July, we opened a new facility. We have 14 beds that provide crisis care for individuals in really a 14 county area. And the thing that's different about the crisis care that we provide is that it doesn't matter what the behavioral health crisis is. It can be a mental health crisis. It can be related to a suicide threat or a suicide attempt. It can be a substance use related crisis. It could be psychosis because of meth use. It could be a need for withdrawal because of withdrawal management because of alcohol use. And we take all comers. There's no pre-screening that happens when individual comes. If law enforcement runs into a situation where they need to detain somebody on a mental illness hold or because of public intoxication, they can bring them to us. And we triage and do whatever is necessary. In that process, we find that there's about little less than 1% of the individuals that we can't manage because of their health concerns, and which means that we send them on to a Vera Sacred Heart Hospital, or because of their safety concerns. We have security at our facility, but if somebody is very aggressive or is assaultive, then we do need to involve law enforcement, and that's again about 1% of the time. What I handed you was just a brief description of the crisis care services that we serve for Clay County. There were 181 individuals that we saw in our crisis care receiving center. Those are people that just present to us. They could come from family, they could come by themselves, they could come from law enforcement. And of those individuals then, 61 individuals ended up receiving residential crisis care. And 70% of the individuals that we see either in residential care or we do see in the receiving center go home, meaning they don't go on to a higher level of care. They go on to a higher level of care, then that usually means the Human Services Center in Yankton, Vera McKinnon in Sioux Falls, or onto a higher level of care for substance use treatment. The thing that is really important for counties to understand is that historically you've been responsible for all of the pre-commitment hearing costs for mental health. There is no cost to the counties for this. And I can talk to you about the cost avoidance, but it's really hard to put a number on that. But I can give you a few numbers. When somebody comes to us and they avoid going to emergency department or the mental health commitment, you're saving at least $1,000. I don't know of an emergency room visit that is less than $1,000. You're saving the costs associated with the law enforcement involvement and the time of law enforcement involvement And in the past, there's, horror stories of law enforcement having to sit with somebody for 23 hours waiting for a bed to open at one of those facilities. That, the other thing that you're saving, because we do detox, is you're saving the potential costs of, it's in St. Bernard Hospital, an ICU visit under indigent care if somebody doesn't have the money to do that. We're asking a 3% increase in the support this year. So Clay County, that would be $27,581. Your contribution is a small part of our budget, but it's a critical part so we can leverage state dollars so we can provide services to Clay County residents. Questions? We're on it. I mean, we're working on it for you. And what we do, we have counties in mind and trying to figure out ways that we can better serve counties and better serve the residents of Clay County.
Spend a lot of time thinking about the many bills that we do have to pay. So sometimes it's hard to remember the ones that we are not, that we're avoiding. So I really appreciate you coming and bringing the detailed context on the financial benefits to our county of what's
And the bottom line, it's the right thing to do for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so sorry, go on. Your fiscal year 26, is that,
It just ended.
it just ended in June?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I'm using our fiscal year data instead of calendar year. But
That's what that's what I wanted to, what your yearly.
yeah, so for you, we're talking about next calendar year.
Yep.
Yeah. Other questions?
We're really
Looks like you
grateful
have
for
a
the
lot
work
of
you do.
business to do here today, so thank you.
Thank you. Barb?
Give me some time to. I'm Barb Linsky, the Operations Director of Southeast Public Transit. Public transit is more than a ride, it's a lifeline. It connects seniors, veterans, people with disabilities, low-income families, and others to healthcare, employment, education, and services they need to remain independent. Each year, Southeast Public Transit provides approximately 100,000 rides throughout Southeast, including more than 33,000 for Clay County residents. Last year alone, we provided 19,000 medical trips for 672 individuals, helping people to access the medical care. Here in Clay County, we're also proud to partner with the University of South Dakota to operate the Safe Ride program on weekend nights. Since 2002, Safe Ride has provided a safe alternative to driving for individuals who may be impaired, helping prevent DUIs and making our roads safer. Depending on the night, the program provides between 50 and 200 rides. And our he was police chief. He said Safe Ride helped reduce DUIs in Clay County by 40%. The need for these services continues to grow, but our funding has not kept pace. This year, we lost approximately $105,000 in federal, state, and local funding. We used to be able to buy a bus for $87,000. Now they're $147,000. Maintenance costs have tripled because nearly 2/3 of our riders are low income. Raising fares isn't a realistic solution. We can continue to pursue grants, contracts, advertising, and other revenue opportunities, but local investment remains essential. Today, I'm asking the Clay County Commission to invest $10,000 in Southeast Public Transit, providing 33,000 rides annually in Clay County, so the investment's about 33 cents per ride. And the actual cost is approximately $10.40. Meaning the county's investment would cover a small fraction of the cost to help leverage state, federal, and other local funding that keeps services operating. For just 33 cents, Clay County helps to ensure residents can get to work, reach medical appointments, remain independent, arrive home safely through programs like Safe Ride. Thank you for your time, consideration, and your continued service. Questions?
Thank you.
I have one question for Carrie. So the numbers that each of these entities have mentioned, are these the numbers that were in the provisional budget that we approved?
believe they all were except for the soil conservation.
Okay, thank you.
Well, got the first reading of proposed ordinance 2026-05, imposing a county gross receipts tax and a use tax for Clay County. Do you have anything to
On
add
this
to
one?
it, or?
On SB 96? The sales and use one?
Yeah, first reading.
Is that a NOAA? It's not a zoning ordinance.
I didn't know if you had anything to, oh,
Oh, no, I didn't.
sorry. I just figured since it was an ordinance.
Yeah. A lot of them are zoning. Yeah, that's the majority.
Yeah, okay. Just open it up to public hearing. For a public comment. Is it the proposed ordinances, because I don't have it. It's for a 1/2 cent sales tax or half a percent. So.
Yeah, so I guess you read the title.
The title's read, yes.
We didn't really have anybody give a presentation on it.
No.
We don't have treasurer or Linnea in the room here.
Well, wouldn't be.
Would you like to introduce the general outline of how
Yeah.
it works, or would you like me to, or someone else? Think.
Well, the general outline is it's a 1/2 percent sales tax on all sales tax and use tax. It's pretty simple. There's verbiage, but I'm gonna open it up to public comment. See if it raises questions. If you can state your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Austin Brunick. I am a resident at Oak Point. I work here in Vermillion. I'm also running for District 17 House, so representing most of Clay County in Pierre. I am standing in opposition to this ordinance. A sales tax will affect the least affluent among us more than anyone else. Clay County already has a poverty rate of 19.3%. That is higher than the state average, that is higher than the national average. This will drive that number higher. What it does is it creates a slush fund for property tax relief. Now, I own my home in Oak Point. When I purchased the home, my monthly payments with a property tax escrow wrapped into it was about $1,200 a month. It is now just under $1,800. I would love a property tax relief, but I am vehemently against that relief coming at the expense of people who are already struggling in this county and in the state. Also, we wouldn't see any relief from this as homeowners for over a year. Because it has to create the fund and then money has to go into that fund first. This sales tax also wasn't meant for counties like Clay County. We won't make up enough money to make up for the property tax relief that's going to be taken away. And so then we have to talk about where that money is going to come from to make up for it. Are we going to be cutting public services? Are we going to be cutting school budgets? That's the type of thing that you'll have to look into. And so for those reasons, I am strongly in opposition and request the commission to strike these ordinances down. It's not right for the county. And we've already got an affordability crisis here in the county. And it's only going to make the poverty rate worse.
We do have one question. You mentioned we won't make up what we have to refund.
Right, so when the sales and use tax goes into effect, it creates that slush fund.
Right.
And that generates a property tax relief.
Correct.
apologies, I was thinking about, language from a different bill that was in last session. So.
Cause this will
But
be.
yeah, this won't, it will lower the amount of property taxes paid by whatever's in the slot, the
Yeah,
fund.
it's a net zero.
Right, right. But again, that money is going to, the people who are gonna be affected by that money the most are the people who are already struggling.
Right, but I just wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that we weren't gonna be
Correct.
allowing any money.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna have to cut something.
I was thinking about language for different bill from last sessions.
Okay.
For that clarification.
Good morning. My name is Caitlin Collier. I live at 917 Eastgate here in Vermillion. If I can remember correctly, that's my fourth house here in Vermillion. I have lived in Vermillion, Clay County, for 50 years, which is actually older than some. I want to tell you a little bit about my background so that you will understand how I came at this. I've been a practicing attorney for about 35 years. I attended the USD School of Law. Afterwards, I was a law clerk for Justice Sabers at the South Dakota Supreme Court, where the court reviewed all kinds of laws and cases. I also spent about 8 years as a lobbyist in the South Dakota legislature. And I was a legislator myself for 2 years. I always say you got to look at the money and where does it go and where does it come? According to the 2024 report of the Tax Foundation, which is the world's leading nonpartisan tax policy 501c3 nonprofit in existence for 85 years. The median property tax in Clay County, and this is in 2024, because that's where their records are at, was $2,937 with an effective tax rate of 1.13%. That's pretty low. At the present time, the current state and local sales tax burden in Clay County is 6.11%. That's the state and local combined. And the South Dakota tax revenue sources show that 44.8% of tax revenue from sales tax is 44.8%, while only 32.6% of tax revenues from property tax. During the South Dakota legislative session of 2026, which created the law which has allowed for this ordinance, some legislators noted that this action is simply a redistribution bill, which takes money from those who can least afford to pay it and gives it to those with the best ability to pay. Now, I live in a house here in Vermillion. As I said, I purchased that house in 2018 for $185,000. Boy, I did not realize the deal that I got, because today it's valued at $340,000. I don't know what happened, but man, my property tax has doubled and is now at $4,917 per year, almost $5,000. My sister, who lives in Fayetteville, Arkansas, one of the places to move to, who has a house that's worth close to $1 million, pays a lot less. But the amount of my property tax is not an aberration in this community or this county. But the reason for this huge increase in my property taxes and the property taxes of everybody else in this county is not because of this huge increase in the value of my home or theirs. It is because the citizens of this county made a decision to pay the cost the new Clay County Law Enforcement and jail and take that on as a tax burden. In addition, those within the Vermillion School District agreed and voted on and decided to take on the tax burden of a new school, a new elementary school, which everybody seems to agree with. Absolutely brilliant idea. Saving on transportation costs, keeping up with the old buildings. Lots of good reasons. But we have to take that into consideration, because this ordinance is not a fix for our property tax relief. The new law requires, as has been said, the money go into the county budget, but into a property tax relief fund. The funds are then allocated as a credit. I believe that was the word you were looking for, against the property tax levy on home in equal percentage. In 2024, again, these are the newest numbers you can find. The population in Clay County was 15,138. 51.8% of the adults living in homes were homeowners. Almost 52% homeowners. But 19.8%, whether they're homeowners or not, live below the poverty line. Now, these numbers might have changed in the last 2 years, because if you're not aware, in the last 2 years, coastal-based private equity companies have purchased residences in Vermillion and in Clay County and turned them into rentals. Residential prices and acreage prices are very high, and many would-be homeowners are unable to qualify for home mortgages, in part because of the high property taxes, but not that alone. Again, this ordinance is not going to fix that. It's not going to touch the portion of our property tax bill that is attributable to the payments on the new jail and the payments on the new elementary school. That is there. This law that gave birth to this ordinance, if you actually read about it, was actually targeted relief. And it was meant to be for those counties with high tourism, so they could leverage out-of-state dollars for property tax relief, while the tourists would pay a higher sales tax. Yes, their county would, but we are not Sturgis. We are not Sioux Falls, and we are not the Black Hills. We have tourism, sure, but this law was never meant to be for the smallest county in the state with one of the highest levels of poverty. So I'm asking you to not pass this bill. Are there other ways to do property tax relief? Yes, there are. And some might even be meaningful. But this is not going to do it. And if you're thinking, well, not everything's about Vermillion. I hear you. I absolutely agree. But the vast majority of county residents live here and pay that double whammy that we voted for. Well, we voted for it. We should live.
Morning. I'm Leslie Garish. I live at 1416 Cornell Street. Thanks you all for this opportunity. So I also am here in opposition, but I wanted to just chat with you guys a little bit about why I kind of understand why you think this is the way to go, because I think one thing we have in common is that we think the legislature just doesn't give us enough flexibility to be able to fill in those holes for so many of our residents. And then, of course, this could alleviate maybe some of these really amazing programs we heard earlier, right? And so you're thinking, well, this is the tool in my toolbox. And I get it. I mean, that's like an argument that I find really hard to argue against because this is the thing they gave you. But their laziness should not mean that you guys have to do this because you need to know that the people that will be affected, as been stated before, are the people that are using tanager takeout. They're the people that use the backpack program to make sure their kiddo can get to school tomorrow. They are the people that don't know where they're going to find shoes for their kids' new school year. But they also are at your kids' soccer games, your grandkids' soccer games. They're also dancing at the plots. They also really want to get an omelet at Cafe Brulee. They are our neighbors. I am a small business owner, so I will have to raise my prices for this. So you need to know how it'll affect small businesses. And I do employ many renters who are students. And I think that's the thing that I think this commission has been like, look, this renter, the students. You know, they shop other ways too. And also, why are we burdening them when the richest people are going to get the breaks? I think I just want you guys to know that that's who's going to be affected is our most vulnerable populations. And we can be more creative. And if, you know, we need the legislature to be more creative, I have a lot of ideas on that as well. Additionally, I do think that if this passes, and I think it's going to pass, right? I'm just going to be honest. I think you guys are going to pass this, but I hope you don't. But it'll go to referendum, and none of you are on the ballot this year, but all of you will then be on the ballot this year, and you will have to make a case for why this is the way to go. And I'm 100% sure we'll get this on the referendum, probably because of all the amazing people behind me. So please consider the most vulnerable populations, what this was really meant for, as Caitlin outlined so brilliantly, and just take into effect those people in our community that will have to pay the sales tax and see no relief. They are not lazy, they're renters to many of you. Thank you.
I'm Robert Geminer from 942 Ridgecrest, and I'm also opposing this ordinance. I will also point out that a lot of homeowners like me are not rich, and we really could use the property tax relief. I've got a wife and 4 kids, so I need that as well. But I'm an economics professor. I teach public finance, and we've heard about sales tax, but this ordinance is a gross receipts tax, and there are some dangers involved in that. Gross receipts taxes will hit businesses that are earning losses as well. It's not like an income tax that you pay on net profits. It's all the money coming into the business. Many businesses run on very tight margins. Grocery stores, maybe 2 or 3%. When you're taking 0.5%, this is going to result in some price increases to consumers. There is no such thing as a tax that is paid by ephemeral corporations. I can promise you 100% that people pay all taxes, no matter who you levy it on. And if it's not going to hit consumers with higher prices, it will hit people who are employed by these businesses, local businesses. Somehow it will affect people. When it's gross receipts, it could affect businesses selling services and equipment to farms as well. It's not just the retail here in Vermilion. And I always would like to address property tax issues first on the expenses side before we worry about revenues, because I'm just personally very skeptical that property taxes are going to see any material change because expenses do tend to come up.
All of you know me, but I'll introduce myself.
Is it legal to have 2 economic professors speak back?
2 public finance professors. I'm Ray Ring. I live at 607 Sterling Street. I taught economics here for 33 years, including public finance and economics, state and local governments. And I'm also a former state legislator for 8 years. My last session was 2020. I'm here to talk about this tax 2. It's interesting. I looked at the some of my emails this morning, and South Dakota Searchlight has an article about what a bad idea this is. And you've already heard several people. I like to talk about data, but they've already taken some of my ideas. I want to add a few things. But how regressive this tax is. Regressive means that as your public finance professor could tell you, means that the taxes as a percent of income are higher for lower income people. The Institute for Tax and Expenditure Policy will tell you that they do a study every 2 years of the distribution of the tax burden, and they found South Dakota to be have the 6th most regressive tax structure in the country, in large part because of our dependence on the sales tax. There are only 3 states in the country now that fully tax food. 5 states tax at a lower rate. The other 42, I guess, exempt food entirely. They all exempt. We also tax clothing, residential utilities, and commercial utilities, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, and most services that other states don't tax. South Dakota in sales tax receipts per person per capita. South Dakota ranks 5th of all 50 states. Our sales tax rate is fairly low, but our total taxes are very high. In fact, the last I looked, the only state that relied more heavily on the sales tax than we do was Florida.
Ray, may I interrupt? I just want to make sure that I understand what you just shared there. So out of all the states in the country, so we are 5th in the like total dollar amount of sales tax per capita? No.
Total tax, sales tax collections per capita.
Sales tax collections per capita.
Per person, right.
We're number 5 in the country.
Number 5. Good.
Thank you.
And property tax payments per person, we rank 29th. Yeah. And that's taxes per person. Property tax effective rate, which is the tax as a percent of the value of the property, we're 19th. We're lower our property tax payments per person, all surrounding states except South Dakota. According to somebody already referred to the Tax Foundation, according to the Tax Foundation, South Dakota's residential property taxes are slightly higher than the median for the U.S. So our taxes relative to other states are not, all that out on, about equal to Minnesota and North Dakota. Now here I'm talking about the effective property tax rate. Tax residential property taxes as a percent of the value of the property. Our rates are well below Iowa and Nebraska. The point that's only been touched on a little bit here, I think is important, is that South Dakota not only has a very comprehensive tax rate on consumers, it's also a very comprehensive tax. I shouldn't say tax base, I shouldn't say tax rate, tax base on businesses. We tax commercial utilities. Many states don't. We're one of the last I looked, maybe 8 states that still tax plants and equipment with the sales tax. We tax many business purchases of most other states exempt the sales tax, such as farm and manufacturing machinery, business fuels and utilities, cloud and online services, and many other business services that most states. A couple studies that I know of. One of which I did, but it was published in the National Tax Journal, so I think it's fairly reputable. The other one is a study that's done every year by Ernst and Young. And I know some of the people who initiated that study. They're some of the best tax people in the country. Both of those studies find that about 40% of South Dakota's tax base, sales tax base, is on business. So if you raise the sales tax rate 0.5%, it's also going to go up 0.3% because of what the legislature did. You're putting a greater tax burden on businesses that are considering whether to move to South Dakota. Or if we adopt this and surrounding counties don't, and that somebody also referred, most of the states are, or most of the counties are not considering this, except the counties that have a lot of tourism revenue. I think you're going to be discouraging businesses from coming into Clay County. So I think that's all the numbers I have. Like other people here, please consider the fact that there are a lot of poor people here. We have one of the highest poverty rates in the state, probably in the country. And you're just going to be increasing the burden on those people. Oh, I had trouble finding data on sales tax revenues for Clay County, for the whole county. But I did accumulate for the cities here that have, including Vermillion, that have a sales tax. And what I figured was we get about from the county $6 million a year. What I think that would do is reduce the residential property tax rate by about, or payments by about 10%. So if you have a $5,000 tax bill, that's going to reduce it by $500. That's a substantial amount, but I'm not sure people are going to be thinking about that $500 as much as they're going to be thinking about the extra sales tax that they're paying every time they go to the grocery store. So please don't adopt this regressive proposal.
I'm Gary Wilson, the Muskrat Creek Road. We're here because of the actions and inactions of the state legislature, in spite of Ray's best efforts over the years. I'm not an economist, but I did dig out the same facts that Ray did, 7 facts that demonstrate how regressive our tax structure is. I'm not sure, I might have missed it, but Ray, did you mention, Ray, that we have no corporate income tax in South Dakota? And we're one of, I knew you would. State is trust laws enable illicit, foreign, and out-of-state entities to shield vast sums of taxation. Our public schools are losing funding because the legislature passed laws allowing insurance companies to divert taxes that they owe to fund private schools. Section 3 of the ordinance states that the sales tax would be imposed on, quote, upon the privilege of use, storage, and consumption. So buying food for your kids is no longer a necessity, but a privilege. Section 1 of the proposed ordinance states that, quote, the first purpose of this ordinance is to provide additional needed revenue for Clay County. This seems contradictory since the ordinance also states that sales tax is to offset taxation on owner-occupied properties. Having served on the Clay County Commission years ago, I know that stretching tax dollars to meet obligations never easy. For example, the State Association of County Commissioners once pushed a measure to allow counties to tax alcohol sales. As my fellow commissioner, the late Jerry Somerville, said, the county pays to arrest drunk drivers. We pay to put them in jail. We pay to prosecute them and to defend them. And the county gets no funding. I supported that common sense proposal, but the South Dakota legislature declined to give counties that authority. Now they found a new tax that they like. Nobody likes paying taxes, including me. And probably like most of you, my property taxes go up each year, not because the house is worth much more than when I built it 44 years ago, but because of the general increase in property valuation. However, that doesn't mean that I support reducing my property taxes by increasing the sales tax. I understand why Meade County, home of the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, chose to do this. After all, hundreds of thousands of visitors pour millions into the local economy, so visitors can pay the taxes and reduce taxes for county residents. But in Clay County, people who would pay an increased sales tax would not be out-of-state motorcycle enthusiasts, but students, renters, Nebraska neighbors, low-income families. I'd like to pay lower taxes, but I don't want to reduce my property taxes and those of other financially able people at the expense of those upon whom an increased sales tax would be a major burden. So I had my voice asking you not to approve this ordinance. Thank you.
Eileen Thornier from 113 Forest Avenue. This is one of the least favorite things I find myself doing, standing in front of a microphone and in front of a crowd. But I am here because I'm very concerned. I am learning a lot about what you all do and the decisions that you have to make. And I am humbled by how much effort you put into your jobs. And what a great responsibility you have for not just the city of Vermillion, but for Clay County. I've been doing some work out in the farm areas and talking to folks, and everybody's suffering right now, one way or another. Some because their children may be suffering, their adult children trying to make ends meet for their families, and it really impacts me. So I am so glad everyone who spoke before me has all the statistics and figures, but when it comes down to it, I'm hoping that you use your hearts to vote on this. The great thing about us humans is we can change our minds. We can say, you know, I really thought about this, and maybe some of the statistics, the facts that have been presented will resonate with you, and you'll take a step back and say, let's give this a little more time. Let's think about other ways. Be creative with it. So I come from Denver, and I've only been here 4 years, so I don't have a name that you would recognize among all the Olsons and Hansons and all that. But I am honestly here to find a community that works together, that helps one another. And when I first got here, I was amazed by the number of people who volunteer to help their fellow citizens. The United Way, Meals on Wheels, which I worked with in Lakewood, Colorado. the food pantry, the hot dishes, that are prepared, for those who have low incomes. And also the student population. I thought, oh boy, the students are gonna all descend on us, and I've just loved being able to ride my bicycle anywhere I want and not have to worry about speeding cars, like I did in Denver. But the students are so amazing here. They give you way, they embrace you. When they have the open house at Christmas time, I've been able to meet some of the sorority sisters that are so generous and loving. It truly does warm me. And I'm sorry I'm gushing, but I do love Vermillion. And I love the rural community. So I add my voice. One thing to consider that hasn't been mentioned is when people who are in a budget, like I own a home here. It was under 300,000 when I came 4 years ago. I think it's gone up. My property tax is over $5,000 a year, which blows my mind. But when I see someone in the grocery store at Hy-Vee or Walmart, and they have several little children around them, and they are digging into how much money they have to pay for their bills. I've seen from the 4 years ago that I came here, I've seen the quality of the food diminish. And I'm not looking for that. Hardly my doctor, obviously I'm not a nutritionist, but my doctor has said, eat more whole foods, eat more protein, be conscious about what I buy. So I tend to look in people's carts, and the quality of the food has diminished. There's a lot more processed foods going into those carts because the cost, not that I'm saying the rancher is wrong. I'm saying this is the reality that we live in, that the cost of producing between the farm equipment, between the fertilizers, whatever it is that you need to be able to grow substantial crops, has increased to the point that food now is costing us a great deal more. So what you do to fill those little tummies, you buy a lot more processed foods. That diminishes the growth and health, the mental wellness of those children. So I would not a nutritionist again. So, but I would encourage you to think hard about what harm that might be causing to these future generations that will be taking your seats and having as difficult a time in the future. So I really appreciate your time, and please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Suzanne Skirm, 722 Lewis Street. I don't have facts and figures, but I want to voice my opposition to this bill as well. And I agree with what everybody else has said. When I bought my house in 1993, I think it was around $60,000. My house is over 100 years old. I pay a huge amount of property tax because a lot and a half. The house certainly isn't worth as much as it's valued at, but I don't mind paying those property taxes. I mean, I don't like paying taxes like everybody else, but I'd rather pay my property taxes than burden somebody else who can't afford it with extra taxes that they have to pay on necessities like food. So I urge you to table this bill, do away with it entirely. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? Okay, yeah.
I thought I was summoned. I was trying to decide if I needed to comment or not. Linnea Olson, I'm the director of equalization here. I stayed upstairs initially because my office is not concerned with taxes. We do property value, that is it. The only taxes that I have a hand in
are the budget that I proposed to this commission at the beginning of July. That is the only way that my office has a hand in taxes. There's been much understanding of if I'm out there looking at your property, it's because I'm trying to raise more taxes. And that is not my responsibility, not my goal. All I'm doing is making sure that you are eating the piece of pie appropriately to your property value. So the issue at hand is that property taxes have been the number one issue for the legislature for the last several years. I've heard many of you up here say that you're okay with paying your property taxes. That's not what the legislators have been hearing for the last couple of years as they're on the road. And especially right now with an election cycle, they're constantly hearing people say, my property taxes are too high. My property taxes are too high. So I'm going to take a little piece from one of our local legislators, Chris Casson. He always says that there's only 3 ways to lower property tax. The first, you decrease budgets. As you heard this morning, that decreases resources. You heard the wonderful things that are happening through your property taxes going to behavioral health, to conservation, and to public transport. That's part of what happens with the county budget. When we decrease budgets, we're decreasing resources to the public. The second thing, grow your tax base. That's through industry, homes, new businesses. Many of you have had a hand in that as well. Sorry, bug in my face. But keeping in mind, this then stretches the need of those public resources, public infrastructure. I'm a Vermillion resident. I've seen my utility bill go up many times to try to help the city keep up with the resources that they're doing. And now we'll see another slight increase and what will happen at the city level with their budgets for the new light and power building, which is very, very, very needed. The last note is find an alternative source of revenue. So the legislators decided this was the easiest route to go. This is that alternative source of revenue. We are not able to increase our overall county budget. All this would do is offset what we're already levying against you. Begins with owner occupied. Anything above and beyond the owner occupied and only the county portion would then get applied equally to ag and to everything else, which includes those renters. So I have a fact from my office, again, kind of going back to value that I've been using to kind of, my whole role is being unbiased, making sure that we're not swaying people one way or the other with shock and awe facts. So I'm going to give you the shock and awe fact, and then I'm going to give you the other fact. In the city of Vermillion, city limits, 40% of land mass is tax exempt. So 40% of the city of Vermillion by land mass is tax exempt. That's land mass. That's not property value. You look at the same land mass between the empty lot north of Walmart and where Masaba is, that's a huge difference in value. One may be exempt and the other, it's the same land mass. When you look at the overall county, it's only 6%. So that's, when we look at facts, we always need to balance what is the one that is shock and awe and what shows the actual reality. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I really appreciate the facts about the per capita sales tax in South Dakota, but I'd like to remind you all that when we think of South Dakota industries, a simple Google search will tell you that the second industry in South Dakota is tourism. So you've got agricultural, and then you have tourism, and tourism taxes are higher. Next time you stay at a hotel, look at your hotel bill. There's an added sales tax if you are staying in a hotel because that is tourism. So I don't know if I can say which way the commission votes. I don't have any more of a voice than you do as a department head. But I do think that there's a twofold obligation. So this is going to step out of Linnea equalization to Linnea property owner. We have a twofold obligation after today. Whichever way they vote, You need to talk to your legislators about what is being taxed via sales and what is not. And begin now. I know it's an election year and we may not know who sits in those seats in January, but they're not able to build a bill in 40 days. So talk to them now. Second obligation, whatever happens, shop local. Thank you.
Thanks.
Kelly Sykes, I live at 508 Poplar Avenue, Vermillion. I don't know any facts and statistics, but I just have an ongoing observation that South Dakota has a large number of residents who don't actually live here and don't pay property taxes or income taxes or sales taxes. They live in their RVs and they register their home here in South Dakota because it's very inexpensive. They pay very little in registration for their vehicle. They pay very little in their licensing. And then they use a postal forwarding service to forward their mail to wherever they happen to be. When I've been camping in other states, I have run into people who say, "Oh, you're a resident of South Dakota. Oh, so are we. We never go back there, but that's where we live." So I've been mystified that the government hasn't levied that possibility because they vote here. They register all their vehicles. They have all the advantages of South Dakota residency without having to pay federal tax. And it's not being utilized. And I think that it could be how property tax and sales tax is not.
Anyone else? Hearing none. Discussion, questions, comments? One thing that I think was mentioned is how much property tax relief would happen. Department of Revenue sent out their guesstimate based on 2025. Whatever your tax bill would be, they're guesstimating a 56% reduction. They're guesstimating Minnehaha County at a 96% reduction. That's based on collected sales tax already.
Step up to the mic, sir, if you want to speak.
Just have a question about that guesstimate. Is that a 56% reduction of the Clay County portion or the entire mill rate that we pay for the whole bill? Because the school district and city are.
That is only the county.
I should clarify, if you live in the Vermillion School District is what they based it off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They didn't use county now?
Not just.
They had to use the school levy.
Right,
They narrowed it
thank you,
down.
because, yeah, so Ray brought this up earlier, that is another aspect of this too. Is that this is a new way of defining tax districts. The state does not currently collect data that allows them to break down what Clay County pays in sales taxes. That just isn't something that's currently being collected. So there's also a little bit of additional administrative work that will need to occur, and some of this funding would go to that administrative.
No, they collect sales tax in the county.
But
If
they
you buy
don't
stuff.
break it down by county. So that's
By
why,
county, no.
that's why we don't have an accurate figure for what the impact would be locally and why Ray wasn't able to
Well,
go and find that.
This number is, if
doesn't
you live in the
exist.
Vermillion School District, which is the largest district in Clay County,
But we have how many school districts in Clay County?
6.
Okay, right. And our school district also goes into some neighboring counties. So it's, right? We have a little bit that goes over into Union, I believe.
Vermillion does, yes.
But that is the number that I've been going off of as well. And part of what I hear in that number is clarity that only owner occupied properties will get any of this relief, because that did come up, that if there is extra revenue, that it would also provide a little bit of benefit potentially to some of those other classes.
But if their number is correct, you're 44% away from it spilling over into those other areas.
That's right.
Which would be almost double.
Yeah, we would have to nearly double sales taxes after implementing a higher sales tax.
So my one concern is if those numbers are correct, and Minnehaha County is at 96%, effectively say they don't have property tax bill there.
except for my understanding is Minnehaha County is not implementing this tax.
Well, maybe this board that sits there currently, but if I lived in Minnehaha County and somebody was gonna deduct my or lower my property tax bill almost 96%, and they weren't even considering it, there'd probably be new people sitting in that seat.
It's gonna be
But,
interesting.
but my concern is we're close enough to Minnehaha County and we have plenty of people who drive from Sioux Falls to Vermillion to work. How many people are gonna wanna build in Clay County? I'm afraid about new home building. There's a lot more than just, it's a 1/2 cent sales tax. There's a lot more that goes into this, but I'll let Ray.
I don't know where that 56% number comes from.
From the Department of Revenue.
Yeah, the secretary released that for us.
What I've seen from the Department of Revenue is they took total sales tax, what the 0.5% would add. And then divided by some kind of, that is total statewide sales tax from 0.5%. And then they divided that by some figure that they had on the number of owner occupied properties in the state. Statewide data. I mean, that's the lazy way to come up with that number. Because you know that the effect is going to be much different in different counties. And
see, we got a breakout of every county.
Yes. Pardon me?
We got a breakout of every county on what they're.
I'll share the document with you, Ray.
You know, he's got the document. There's a county out there that's actually gonna collect 1,100%.
Vermillion sales tax revenue, I believe, is about $5.6 million on their 2%. And I added up what's reported for Wakanda. Burbank, I think, has a sales tax. And
I think they're just county now.
Yeah, they're just a state sales tax in Burbank and Mexico.
okay. But I took what I could find, and what I got was about $6 million. Now, it's probably going to be more than that for the county because there are some businesses that are not located within city limits. I found something that looked like it might be accurate for the county. I added those numbers up, but it's based on zip codes which don't respect county boundaries, and I got something less than 6 million. That's for the 2% tax. Divide that number by 4, 6 million by 4, and you get about 1.5 million. And I think our residential property tax in Clay County is a lot more than 1.5 million, a lot more than 3 million. So I think that 56% number is questionable at best. Thank you.
Councilman Kavanaugh, 19 North Pine, Vermillion, and I just have a question. Is increasing the tax on 19% of our population that's below the poverty level best way to lower our property taxes?
Tried to do a little more research on this as well, and I even called the Department of Revenue yesterday, and to be honest, they don't even know exactly who's all implementing it or thinking about implementing it. But the only thing I could find is that currently Meade, Pennington, Custer, and Coddington, so Sturgis, Rapid City, Custer, and Watertown have enacted it. Coddington's probably going to go to a referendum, and Brown and Fall River counties, so Aberdeen and Hot Springs, thank you. Have sent it directly to a public vote. So
They send it directly to a public vote? You can't legally do that.
No, that's what,
Differing opinions, yeah.
Yeah.
We can't send it direct to a public vote. It can be referred to a public vote, but we cannot send it to a public vote. That is in the law.
That is our interpretation of our state's attorney, and it is I think, valid interpretation. I have heard different interpretations.
That was my opinions based off of guidance that received from the state regarding their opinion as to how it was written. So,
And I know there's different opinions just because the state had previously told me the opposite of that.
correct. They went back and forth,
So-
but ultimately I agreed with
Yeah.
the opinion that you
Yeah.
were getting from the state.
Yeah.
Who wrote the legislation.
That being said, you know, we talked about Sioux Falls who basically almost paid their property taxes. At this point, they're not even in the conversation. It's just wanted to have that out there so everybody knew that these are the counties that have implemented, and these are the counties that have sent it to ballot already, so.
But is Minnehaha doing an opt-out? Carrie, have you?
I have not heard. I know last year they did and it was fairly sizable. I don't know what they're doing this year.
I think a couple things that I would like to be a part of this conversation are timing. So this authority exists now, and unless the legislature takes it away in the next session, it is a tax that could be implemented at any time in the future. We generally are not a body that likes to try to get out right at the front and make the mistakes and figure out the hard way how to implement things. So that is one area where I'm feeling, especially in light of the unanimous opposition that we just heard today, makes me want to slow roll things a little. I think also the rate is entirely up to us. So should we choose to implement this tax, we could set it at 0.00001%, anything up to 0.5%. And so the current ordinance we're hearing a reading of today implements this on January 1st of next year and goes with that full 0.5%. So, those are both things that are areas that we have discretion on. And I think that it's also important in the context of, especially in context of all the comments that were made today, I think to remember that there is an additional sales tax increase, which was passed by the last legislature and which is law. And so beginning next year, sales tax rates are going to go up 0.3% for everybody. And that money isn't going to go into the general fund. So the bill that passed, instead of putting the money back into the general fund where it had been before the reduction of 0.3%, it's going to be going into a pool to reduce owner occupied school levies. So part of my thinking around this question hinges on that for the valid reasons that we that a lot of people have shared how high their property taxes are. So to try to help address that, there is already a tax increase, which is only going to go to reduce owner occupied property taxes that's going to occur regardless of any decision we make. And so I think that that certainly factors into my opposition to implementing this 0.5% tax at this time. I think a lot of what else I would share would probably reiterate some of the things that were shared in the room already. But I think one other thing that I didn't hear today, we talked. I think Ray spoke quite eloquently about regressivity, and I think that it's important to remember too that everybody is going to pay the same additional sales tax rate, and then the money will go into a pool that will be allocated based on the tax burden of each property. So it's going to reduce that whole pool. And then the benefits are going to be allocated out based on the value of your property. So someone with $1 million property is going to get 5 times as much benefit as someone with a $200,000 property. So I think that also factors into my thinking when I consider that low-income people may own a home and they may be property tax burdened. They certainly are paying sales tax. And so I think that when I'm thinking about balancing these benefits and costs, that factors in as well.
I could just add onto that point. According to the Institute of Technology Economic Policy, South Dakota, the top 1% of earners in South Dakota, that's people making about $350,000 or more a year. That's households. They pay a annual percentage of their income of about 2.4% in state tax and sales and use tax, property tax, etc. That is the lowest rate in the nation. Now, I'm not sure how many people we have in Clay County that make over $350,000 a year as a household. But I would say that number is probably not zero. And you know, they've got the money to own a house, and as Jeffrey was saying, they're going to see the biggest benefit because their houses cost more than my house does, or a lot of people in this room. So we're making the top 1% who already pay the lowest percentage of their annual income in the nation pay even less. And we're putting that burden onto the lowest 20%, which is about 30,000 a year or less. They pay about 22.4% of their annual income in sales and use tax in South Dakota. I think that's the 16th highest rate. That number is going to go up. So when we talk about being the 6th most regressive tax state in the nation, I think this policy and similar policies are going to make that number put us into the top 5. So I think that is also something to think about when we've got a county with 19% of the people already living below the poverty line. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Well, I just want to add, you know, there's a lot of good points that I've heard today. And I think we're missing an element in here. Is we talk a lot about low income, and I do know about low income. I spent 20 years director of Vermillion Housing Redevelopment, which is low income housing. And I dealt with those people every day. And there is a high rate of poverty in this county. But also we're missing a fact here. We're talking about the poverty. We're talking about the high income people. We're not talking about the middle income people, which encompass most of us. So this property tax reduction could mean, can I buy a house? Can't I buy a house when it comes to your monthly payment? Or am I going to be able to keep my house and keep my kids sheltered? That is another factor that I am looking at. Plus, every one of these social groups uses public services. That's what property taxes pay. They pay for ambulance, fire, roads we drive on, everything. That's what the property taxes go to. I know this bill is just for property tax relief on owner occupied right now, but it's all a big, like you refer to as a slush fund. So everything kind of goes in and it spreads out. So that's just, you know, I feel we're talking two ends here. We're leaving out the highest percentage of income people in the middle that are trying to buy a house, trying to save money for a house, and those items also. So that's, I just wanted to add that opinion.
Yeah, I think I was actually, frankly, I was surprised by Ray's statistics that he shared about where we land on sales tax and property taxes per capita. That was not actually my expectation. I would have thought that there'd be some blue state out there that was, or you know, more than 4 of them that were taxing everybody's sales taxes. You know, just taxing everything, and also incidentally taxing their sales taxes much higher. So I was surprised to hear that we are currently fifth in the country in per capita receipts for sales taxes. That is that makes me certainly less interested in implementing an additional sales tax. I think especially when you look at the other side of that, which is the property taxes per capita. I feel that mine are high. I felt them, go up. But I understand what they pay for and I value those services very highly. So I understand that you have to pay for things that you want to have. And being 29th in the nation certainly also shifted my perspective a little bit there. And I think also hearing that neighboring taxes that I expect because they have income taxes might be able to have lower property taxes, to learn that they have higher property taxes per capita versus South Dakota is also was a surprising statistic to me that makes me believe that my perspective that this isn't the right tax at the right time for us is correct. But certainly good point, Dave, and one that I've thought a lot about. I think that is one thing that implementing this tax would potentially do is lower the barrier to entry into home ownership for some people. But I think that it's just too regressive for me to support it in its current form, despite that good, which I do think is a very important one. And I think that Travis's point too, that developers, capital is very mobile. Capital looks all over the world for where it's going to get the best returns. And I think that a lot of the challenges that we have in our community is that's we're going to look to those same big pools of capital to build new housing in our community as is potentially going into a data center somewhere, and so they're just trying, capital is just trying to find, those little marginal ways that they can make a little bit more, and I think that, these decisions do impact. That is true. Those dynamics.
Any other comments, questions? So we can either move it to a second reading or deny it.
So based on my opinions about this and the comments that I've heard from the public, I move to deny this ordinance at this time.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mochler,
No.
Graylobe,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Teasy,
No.
Gilbertson.
No.
Motion failed. Any other wishes?
I'll make a motion to move it to a second reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mochler,
Yes.
Graylobe,
No.
Brady,
No.
Teasy,
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll move the second reading to the 25th of August, which is next Tuesday. Now, we've got a first reading of proposed ordinance 2026, an ordinance authorizing the declaration of fire danger emergencies and regulating open burning throughout unincorporated Clay County. Mike, do you want to take that one?
I can speak on this. So this was a request of the commission to rework what was a 2022 ordinance that also was intended to authorize the declaration of fire danger emergencies. If everybody here kind of historically remembers, before that date, back in the 2010s at some point, maybe Andy or Matt Callahan over there could speak to that, but we implemented the red flag rule essentially, where if there was a red flag warning by the National Weather Service, we also went into a burn ban. That was the kind of the origin of kind of getting to where we're at now here with this ordinance in 2026. In 2022, that ordinance, an ordinance went into effect that does a lot of what we're doing here with this 2026 update to the ordinance. What I'm trying to do is make enforcement of it cleaner and easier for prosecution purposes. I had sat down with, of course, Sheriff Howe, Chief Callahan, also Emergency Manager Lane Stewart, and we worked together to kind of work on how to best draft this ordinance to bring to you guys. Ultimately, what's in front of you here is a continuation of the red flag or fire weather watch fire danger emergency, essentially banning open burning whenever the National Weather Service implements a fire weather watch or a red flag warning. So whenever we're in a National Weather Service fire weather watch or a red flag warning, open burning as defined in this ordinance is not permitted within the county, unincorporated Clay County. This section 3 then also permits the emergency manager or this body, the commission, to also create what I've just noted as a local fire danger emergency. So if there's not conditions that put us into a National Weather Service fire weather watch or a red flag warning, but it's still concerning enough to believe that open burning shouldn't be permitted within the county, the emergency manager has the authority to enact up to a 10-day burn ban. Additionally, this commission also has that same authority. The commission can extend it. So if the emergency manager issues a 10-day burn ban, this commission at any point can either rescind or extend that 10 days. Additionally, the commission also has the authority during a meeting to make the decision to go into a burn ban separate from the emergency manager. This ordinance defines what does and does not constitute burning for purposes of when you're allowed to have a fire. Cooking appliances are excluded, right? So even if we're in a red flag warning or a local burn ban, you can still use your grill or your smoker out back to grill, dinner for your family. You can also, when we're not in a burn ban, just during regular conditions, when there's no burn ban in effect, you can continue to use burn barrels, outdoor fireplaces, and recreational and personal use fires without giving notice to the county about your intention to do those activities. If we're not in a burn ban, and this is how this currently exists anyway, so we're just kind of updating and clarifying some things here with this ordinance. But when we are not in a burn ban, open burning can continue at any time. I don't believe we're in a burn ban today, but okay, Lane's shaking his head no. So today you could burn. If you're going to do what's called open burning, which is defined in this ordinance, essentially think of rural farmers having getting everything put together and burning it. We see it all the time around the county. They can do that by first contacting the communication center, the 911 dispatch essentially, but at their local line, don't call 911, to let them know that they're going to be igniting, who's responsible for that fire, where they live at, what their telephone numbers are, how you get a hold of them if something kind of goes out of whack. That's already how this ordinance reads. So we're just clarifying that. Open burning continues to be allowed. You just have to contact the communication center beforehand. So those are what's essentially the regulation of this ordinance. A penalty for it, what we've decided on as we've worked through this, and the direction that I've gotten from this commission is essentially to treat a failure to abide by these regulations as a class 2 misdemeanor, similar to a speeding ticket or a stop sign violation. That currently sits at a $54 fine plus a $76.50 court fee. So essentially anyone, an adult burner who violates this ordinance because they're not contacting or they're burning when they're not supposed to, can be cited by the sheriff for essentially a $132 fine. That's how it's currently sits. The penalty in the previously the penalty was undefined effectively in the 2022 ordinance. This provides more clarity on who's responsible for the fire, as well as what a violation, what are the consequences for a violation. There are other civil remedies that fire departments and townships or whoever have the authority to go after, but that falls outside of the authority of what this is intending. I do cite to that authority, at least in part, in section 6 of the ordinance, but ultimately the penalty section is just really as far as, how are we treating it from a, no harm, no foul penalty. Imagine a situation where there's just a violation, but no damages. What are the enforcement mechanisms? And that's what we ultimately fell on. So I'd be happy to take questions. I think also thankful that the gentleman in the room over there also are here, but we've worked collectively over the last few months to make sure that this ordinance reads in the way that we believe best fits the county and as well as at the direction of what this board has asked us to do.
One small thing from the guy who is not going to win any spelling bees, in section 4B, you have 2 L's on barrels.
I thought I got rid of all of those as I ran into that. You're correct. Okay. Yep. I thought I ran through all those and corrected it. Apparently barrels with 2 L's is proper as a name. So it doesn't.
So if we did this burn ban, burning in a burn barrel, if it has an approved cover, it's still allowed?
It's still allowed and it does not require, as long as we're not in a fire emergency, right? As long as the National Weather Service hasn't implemented a fire ban or the local authorities haven't implemented a fire ban, A burn barrel, which is defined in section 2, so long as it has a proper cover, can always be ignited without contact to the communication center.
Without contact, but once we're in a burn ban, no matter if they got the correct cover or not.
Correct. The only burning that would be permitted in unincorporated Clay County when we're in any sort of burn ban, either through the National Weather Service, which is really how we've operated in the past, or in the event that we decided locally to implement a burn ban. The only fire that would be permitted outdoors would be in a cooking appliance, which is also defined. So, again, cooking dinner on a grill would be permitted. Having an outdoor fireplace or fire, a campfire would not be permitted.
And I did see that there's included some language that gives us the power to exempt, if we did come up with something that for some good reason, we needed to exempt from this in the future, we retain that power by resolution.
I meant to bring that up as well. Great catch. So under section 4D, the Board of County Commissioners may by resolution exempt specific activities, locations, or facilities from the emergency, the fire danger emergency. So you always have that authority to permit burning in a situation. There will be an absolute ban on it with the authority of this commission to exempt specific activities, locations, or facilities.
Well, I wanted to commend and thank everybody that handed writing this. It's a nicely, carefully crafted, balanced, really clear. It addresses all the concerns that I would have and all the, exceptions that I could imagine that we'd want to make sure to take into account. So well written. Good job, everybody that worked on it. Thank you.
So Matt, Lane, or Andy, anything you want to add? Or are we good? Any public comment on this? Hearing none.
Ordinance 6-06.
Second.
We're moving it right to the second reading.
Second reading, yes.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Mochler,
Yes.
Graylow,
Yes.
Grady,
Yes.
Teasy,
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Second reading will be on August 25th.
You take.
Yep. Take a 5-minute recess. There's a bathroom at the end of the hall, and there's also one here. And there's 2026-07. Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
We good?
I'm a little slow.
Okay, we're back in session. First reading of proposed ordinance 2026-07 for an amendment to Article 2, definitions, sections 2.02. Definitions, Article 3, general district regulations, Article 4, districts and boundaries, section 4.05, district regulations, established, section 4.05.05, C1 commercial district, section 4.05.06, light industrial district, and section 4.05.07, industrial 2, general industrial districts. And this is regarding data centers. Noah?
So good morning, everyone. So just want to start off with my position is to do a whole bunch of research and come up with new ordinances and, try and help bring in businesses. And if they do come in, these are the rules we have to play by. So starting around January, February is when my office was kind of approached by the community as a whole, along with Jeffrey and Travis asked me to start getting ahead of this. I have not had a data center come to my office requesting for this to be implemented. Once again, I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve on getting things on the books. With that being said, data centers have been used heavily around the world since the internet was created. They store data from everything from Netflix to Hulu, even this Zoom call is at a data center. It's a centralized location for processors. With doing all this research, I worked with CCOG and other organizations across the US. So a couple out in PA, where they have that data center alley. I think there's a total of 19 data centers in one town. And these are the hyperscale ones and AI ones. Along with working with the city, just because city and county kind of need to work together on stuff. However, we did tour a data center down in Omaha, the Scottdale data center, that 10 megawatt facility. Sat on approximately 20 acres worth of land, and the birds were more loud than the actual data center. So my view on data center is those ones are good. In the last 2 months, more research has come out for the forever metals and noise produced by the hyperscale data centers and the Bitcoin or crypto mining data centers. So 2 months ago, I got this new information previous to the ordinance I have in front of you guys that was written. So just want to put that there. So for those data centers, such as the Google data center, nearby homes within 500 yards can't really be used because of the constant vibration of their windows and their double pane windows. Once again, this is research. It's not just a Twitter post. I can't by good conscience have a constant vibration affect one of your guys' house in the county, even if it's, half a mile away. Just because, the water usage and power usage of the data centers causing lower water pressures and brownouts. That's one thing I don't want to affect the farmers and the local community. I don't want someone trying to irrigate, water their crop and then all of a sudden their irrigator turns off. To me, that's not fair.
Can I jump in?
Yes, sir.
What size was that?
The Scottsdale. Yeah, so that one was 10 megawatts and it had the capacity of going up to 20.
I think he means the vibration.
Oh, the vibration one?
Yeah.
Oh, this one is the 100+ megawatt ones.
That's the hyper ones.
Yeah, those are the hyperscale ones. Yep. Yeah, I mean, I think there's 32 cooling towers just on the roof causing vibrations. So.
When you say cooling tower, is that like?
So that one we saw
Like we saw
in Omaha, yeah.
cooling tower?
So double that size and put 32 of them on a roof.
Right.
So just the building itself is sitting on approximately 100+ acres of land. So.
Where's the specific facility that that these statistics are coming from?
So yeah, so that's coming out of El Paso, Texas. There's a one currently going up in Wyoming by Cheyenne.
That one's operation.
Yes. Yeah. So that one's like fully functioning. The local residents there have experienced water pressure loss and to no water usage, depending on the vicinity to the actual data center. Now, like I said, the Scottsdale one down in Omaha, I think that can be a very good benefit to the community as a whole. Being able to have every single business in the region store their computer information there so they can free up more space for, hosting more people or more storage location instead of having their own private server room. There's also, they don't have to worry about having blackout randomly because a snowstorm comes through because there's going to be the generators backing up those said servers. But with that being said, I'm going to be recommending that we hold off on the ordinance until I can add language prohibiting the hyperscale and the crypto mining data center. And then also adding the same language that the city has for their water cooling. Theirs is more of a radiator where ours is currently allowing the water evaporation. So that still gets added water in. I like the way theirs is worded more. So I'd like to mimic theirs.
So I just want to make sure I'm noting each of the things that you're considering need to be added. So adding language about hyperscale.
Yep. So definition for hyperscale.
Okay.
Crypto mining.
Crypto mining. Okay. And then tightening up the water usage so that it matches what is in the city ordinance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. Just because then it's a true closed loop. It's not a, yeah.
Even though they call it closed.
Right.
Correct. Yep. So tightening up that language just so it, if you want to do business here, these are the guidelines you have to play by. And then also I do not recommend adding any deactivation provisions. Me personally, I feel like that might be a little bit too much of an overreach for us just because.
We put them in our solar ordinance.
But those aren't structures.
You're gonna decommission the whole building?
And that's
physical building?
That's what I mean by decommission, like destruction.
I mean,
That's
think
what I
that
don't
the
recommend.
idea was that if a solar development came here because of some sort of a bubble, maybe it was
Yep.
caused by government funding or something like that, and they got started and they put a bunch of posts in a field and then got half the panels out there and then they went bankrupt, then we would have some blight that somebody's got to clean up. And so I think that similarly, when I seek, because I do think that we should have some decommissioning language in here. We could have something where somebody says, I'm gonna build a 50-acre or 100-acre data center here, and they get out there and they do some dirt work and they start laying concrete and they've got, footings sitting around and piles of stuff. And then they go bust, because I do think that we have a bit of a bubble in our capital economy related to data centers right now. Then we could have a piece of what had been some good farm ground, just a piece of industrial blight out in the middle of the county. And that's what I want to make sure.
Yeah.
Our county is the developer that's going to make the profit is holding the bag there.
Correct. And I do agree. I don't want to have just a half-built building in the middle of the county. I do think that if one of that scale does come in, that's a perfect location now for more industry to move in. So it's like, okay, say it's along Highway 50. One gets put in, they end up closing down. Cool, let's go ahead and buy Costco, Sam's, one of these big retailers that they need a large location to move into.
Yeah,
and that's my mindset on this. It's like, yes, I see the concern about a giant building. And this is why I'm also asking that we add the prohibition language of the hyperscales. Because the Scottsdale one, the actual building was approximately 9 acres and it sat on 20. The rest of it was parking lot and grass and trees. So
we limit like he's talking, the hyper thing, we're not gonna have that 50-acre building.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm trying to.
And I was misunderstanding. So I was just hearing you say you were going to add a definition and then ordinance language to address hyperscale. You're saying a permanent moratorium on hyperscale data development.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Just because, once again, looking at the research of the water consumption in the local communities that has come out within the last 2 months, I can't in good conscience support that.
A follow-up question on that. So a question I had about the draft we were considering was whether we might include some or language for a megawatt definition of large, and so would that also be our idea for a hyperscale megawatt usage?
I was getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
So the other thing I do want to change in the ordinance is changing it from the 10 acres to the 10-watt mega facility with the capacity to 20, just like Omaha. So that's the scale range is 10 to 20. Obviously, if someone comes in and they're only a 1 megawatt facility, then it'd be under that 10, so it'd be fine. They'd still have to get a conditional use. But yeah.
And so then greater than 20 megawatts would be hyperscale.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be large, and then hyperscale is anything like 50 and over.
50 and over.
Yeah, 50, yeah. So like the super big ones.
But you're not addressing. We're not addressing between 20 and 50 though, right?
Well, the 20 and 50 would be large.
Okay.
So
But you were just talking about over 50. So I was
yeah,
wondering,
so 50 would be the cap. And that's what I think would, at that point, they're going to be adding some power plants or some kind of solar panels or wind farms to help generate energy for the data center at that scale. But once again, that would have to be a conditional use, and that's only permitted in the heavy industrial district.
So I just want to make sure that I got the lines clear now. So under 10 is just a data center. 10 to 50 is a large data center. 50 and above is a hyper data center. Is that your breakdown?
Zero to 20.
0 to 20.
Yeah, 0 to 20, because it's operating of normal 10 megawatts with the capacity of up to 20.
Okay.
I'm basing mine off of Omaha. That would be a small. And then anything from 20.1 and above to 50 would be a large scale, and that would be a conditional use.
Thank you.
Yep.
So it's not a moratorium. It's
Yeah.
conditional use.
Yeah, so it'd be a conditional, I mean,
For the large.
for the large, and that would
large, yes.
only be in the heavy industrial district.
Right.
Because the only places we have is the landfill, Lewis and Clark, which they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And I think that's about it.
And we would do a moratorium on the 50 of the hyper.
So
So
by
the
law, SDCL 11-210, a moratorium can only be enacted for up to 1 year.
Yeah.
And then with a renewal for an additional year, and there's a bunch of obligations of the county.
If we
as to
do that.
why there's an emergency need for it. Moratoriums are being passed on data centers across the state, but again, they are temporary. They can only be enacted for 1 year and you can renew for up to an additional year.
But
So the language I'm wanting to add is hyperscale prohibited.
Prohibited.
Because
Okay,
then
thank you.
it's just outlined,
Thank you.
it's not
Yep.
making the restrictions so bad or so large that it physically can't be done in our county, because then we run into some legal issues there. But by saying just prohibit it, then, cover our bases.
So we don't want to have that conversation at all then with the company?
The hyperscale ones,
Yeah. I mean, are we just,
I mean, and that's my,
nobody has any hard facts. And don't take what I'm saying as I'm in favor of any of them or
Right.
anything. But I want to be able to have a conversation. I want to understand what they're trying to do.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we have to pass them. But I think we should be open to having a conversation with somebody. Unless we just want to close our mind to any. Because when you do that, you also affect other businesses who are going, they're not very business friendly. And we have the black flag already in Clay County that we're not business friendly.
my impression of the political landscape right now is that the data center discussions are somewhat outside of that normal breakdown of the business. Not business. That's the impression that I'm getting, that I think that it wouldn't be read that you don't want any kind of businesses here just because you're prohibiting hyperscale data centers. That's us.
It's just one more thing. But I have a problem not having the conversation.
so I mean,
we
we could add wording to where it's a commission vote instead of the planning zoning commission.
Which is fine.
Right, because they would make the recommendation on allowing the hyperscale to even come in, and then we would have a forum discussion again, so it'd be another 3 public meetings before it would be allowed. So I mean, we could add that kind of verbiage. I'd have to get with CCOG and probably Mike to figure out how we can word it correctly to where it goes to you guys.
It makes sense, because if we prohibit something, yeah, we can always change that down the road, but the way technology changes, the water usage may go away, whatever their needs are that are our current concerns may change.
Yeah. But we can also always amend our ordinances. I mean, this is an amendment right now.
Right, and
But you know how fast that happens.
Yeah.
and so
So there's no, because they're all conditional use permits anyway. So we can say, if we have a hyper comes, it's not a good fit for a county. They don't have the resources.
In your wording, is 0 to 20 conditional use or no?
yeah,
Yes.
so it'd be so commercial, and that's what
I heard
this one,
water, is that
yeah.
why?
Yeah, so once again, I want to amend it a little bit. I have more data now than I did, back in January, February.
So our districts here, we've got.
Yeah, so for the commercial, it'd be the small would be a conditional use. The light industrial conditional use for small. And then the large in those districts would be prohibited. Just in general, but then the heavy industrial would be conditional use for small and large.
Okay.
So that's what I'm proposing on amending.
I think I need the whole matrix one more time. So we'll say small, medium, or small, large, hyper, right?
Yep.
Okay. So for small and commercial, are you proposing
Conditional use.
permitted?
No,
Conditional.
Conditional.
Conditional, okay.
Yep, so they're all gonna be conditional.
Every use,
Yep.
every data center, every district, conditional.
Yep.
There you go. The matrix is simple now.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Good.
Yeah. So I mean, once again, I'm not opposed to having conversations if a company does decide to come, approach us.
But then it's gonna be, if they approach us and we have to change this ordinance. Then everybody's gonna be like, who's approaching? Who is this? Who is this?
Correct. And, you know, going back to adding the language of the planning commission will only make a recommendation to the county commission on approval of the conditional use for like the heavy industrial ones.
So I'm curious from the rest of the commission, have any of you had a single conversation with a single person that would support a hyperscale data center coming to our county?
You mean you're asking in the general public?
In the general, I mean, just because
Yeah.
I've been having lots of people coming up to me, lots of people talking to me about this, lots of people emailing me about this. I've gone to public meetings and I hear, you know, unanimous opposition that primarily seems to be focused on issues that are mostly associated with hyperscale data centers. And then most of the good use cases, things that are desirable, things that seem appropriate for our community, tend to be also, they're talking about smaller data centers. And so I'm just curious to hear if anybody's hearing anything different than that, because that's all I'm hearing is requests for moratoriums or prohibitions of hyperscale data centers. And so I'm just wondering if anybody else is hearing anything different.
So I've talked to a couple, you know, I'm very open about the whole data center thing. I've been trying to get people's input from the public. So if I'm out to Walmart and someone's asked me, hey, what are you working on? I let them know, you know, I'm working on the data center ordinance, and they give me their input. It's a kind of a 50-50 bag of, and it's not party line. It's really just individual at this point.
Me too. Yep.
Some people are like, oh yeah, let them in. And then some people are like, please don't let them in. So it's a kind of divide of prohibiting and allowing.
And that is for all scales.
No, for the large ones.
Okay.
Like the hyperscale ones.
And you're having about half the people that approach you saying,
Yeah,
that's something that we don't want to miss this.
Yeah,
We want
because-
to make sure we're ready for that.
Yeah, because like I said, my input from our Omaha trip, truly, I was like, yes, this is a great service to our community by allowing all the businesses locally to come in and store their information there. Heck, we could even put ours into it if we wanted to, instead of having the server room. You know, those are the kind of things I'm looking at.
But that wouldn't be probably the use case for a hyperscale data center. It would be processing
Yeah, well,
Google's data or Amazon's data or something like that.
well,
Right.
let's see, Netflix, I think they have a handful. Just because 129 days worth of movies and TV shows is approximately 1 petabyte. Just one piece off of Netflix is 49 days worth of watching. So that's one show. So kind of the scale, I mean, you can scroll for hours on Hulu, Netflix, you know, Amazon, and it's just going to be endless. So like, yeah, some of the locations that they're picking for the hyperscales is a better fit than what I think it would be for us, but we can have that discussion if one ever wants to approach us. Instead of just going, because if they can prove like, hey, this is, you know, you guys can request what is the water consumption going to be? How are you guys going to produce the power? What is the pollution? What is all that other fun stuff before you make your final decision? You guys can gather all that information and then truly make the decision on, is this a good fit? Is it not?
I think makes sense, because I mean, there's no sense of locking the door. We can ask them to knock and have a conversation.
Right, but if we prohibit it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
we can't ask those questions.
Yeah, we don't want to just lock them out.
So I think, my take on that is that I think I see, based on all the public input I've gotten and the legitimate concerns that I hear, I had been coming to the process that we were at today with no plans for prohibition on anything. I have been hearing more requests from people for moratoriums, but that's not on our agenda today. And there's a bunch of criteria we'd have to meet and work on that side. And instead, I've been thinking of it purely as lots of legitimate concerns. So we need to make an ordinance that addresses all of those concerns that we feel are important. And then thereby, if somebody comes and they follow all these rules, then we actually would be okay with that because all these rules protect us from all the negative things, right? And so I think that's that's what I was sitting down here to try to do. And that's what Noah's working hard on. But a challenging reality is our administrative capacity. I mean, the reality is you've got 2/3 time to do all of the zoning for the county, right? And so when I am looking through this, that's really front of mind for me is like, how do we make these rules simple enough to implement, but also robust enough that like Google's lawyers, when they're sitting here asking to develop this, are constrained in the ways that our public wants them to be constrained. Right. So when I hear, the possibility of prohibition, I kind of a light bulb went on and I realized, well, that's one way to get away from all that complexity, because the reality is if Google's lawyers are sitting here, we've got our work cut out for us to make sure we ask all the right questions and have, are requesting acoustical studies. And if these things aren't in our ordinance, have we written a 10-page ordinance that really addresses all of these concerns in a nuanced way so that they can't say, hey, you just don't like our project and you're just trying to slow roll this because, that doesn't say anything about that in your ordinance, so that's where my mind breaks on this a little bit, I'm just.
But if they're conditional use permits.
Yeah, that's the
Gonna
main.
be a lot of work, that's the things. If we just say it's prohibited, then, above a certain megawatt usage, then we can focus just on the, the concerns that might be relevant for a smaller scale one. If we allow potentially hyperscale ones, then I think that in our conditional use, in our descriptions, the conditional use process is going to have to surface all of those concerns and make robust rules and mitigation in dialogue with a very well-resourced entity, when we are much less resourced, and hope that they're not externalizing any costs on our constituents, which is really what the.
And I know there is legislation already in place saying, a data center cannot cause, yours or my electrical bill to go up in price. Same with the water consumption. And part of my research has shown that when as small, the 10 megawatts kind of move in, well, they need to improve the infrastructure. So the infrastructure of the actual community gets, upgraded without the cost of us.
Yeah, I think it's a good law. I hope it stands the next legislative session.
Right. I know they're working on something at the federal level as well on saying our prices can't reflect because of the data center. So I know there are laws going into place for that stuff.
So I'm not trying to swell this good discussion on this, but I will make a motion to table this.
I'll second.
We want to allow public comment first.
Oh, good idea.
Yep. So we're.
Yep, sorry.
Just want to make sure nobody gets trampled.
I think we should probably walk back that motion.
Rescind those.
Just rescind it just to ensure.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
I would ask state's attorney, can you have public comment on an ordinance where there's a motion to table?
He just rescinded it.
It's been rescinded.
I just asked him to rescind it.
Yes.
So people who are going to speak might want to be aware of the fact anything that you speak about that might be amended or changed by the zoning administrator, we still have to talk about, so we'll be here.
Yes. Thank you. I apologize.
Well, just to not scare everybody, I'm pretty sure right after public comment, Dave will make the motion to table it. But Noah won't be bringing up other things to change. That'll be at the next meeting.
Yes.
So we're just giving him the opportunity to do more research. Yeah, is what we're doing.
So,
I'm
but-
Robert. Good mind. I'm interrupting too soon, aren't I?
I just wanted to say, whatever you say today will still be part of the public record.
Yes.
Even though we table it, it's still gonna be recorded.
Thanks for that notice. I'm Robert Gaminer from 942 Ridgecrest, and a lot of the things I was going to say I think are useful, even if it's going to get tabled for discussing how things should be revised. If you haven't had a conversation with someone who has some support for hyperscale, you can have that right now with me. And I don't really have an opinion either way, but I have several points to make. First is if you're interested in something that might actually be able to provide property tax relief for owner-occupied residences, you should encourage these data centers to build somewhere out in the countryside, far from the homes, and bring in property tax revenue that can offset what we're paying. That's a really important thing to keep in mind. The notion that we should be hesitant to allow them because we don't have the resources. The people who build data centers and hyperscale ones are not as stupid as you might think. If there are no resources, they're not going to come. That's just a basic cost benefit calculation they're already making. So that's really not an issue. If they want to come, they're going to build their own resources, like the places in Texas that have built their own power generation capacity. So the resource is something that can very easily be handled during conditional use, and they'll probably already have ideas for what they're going to do. When it comes to bothering residents, here again, they're not as stupid as you might think. We're not going to have a hyperscale data center here in Vermillion next to residential neighborhoods because there's no space for such a thing. It just doesn't already exist. They're not going to go to the trouble to buy out that many houses. They're going to build it somewhere out in wide open land close to high voltage power lines. The decommissioning language that could go in, it's a good idea, but keep in mind that judgments are really hard to collect. Just because you put it there is no guarantee that's actually going to do anything in practice, even though I think it should. So I would support decommissioning language, but it may not matter a whole lot. I think a lot of the rules in here are somewhat arbitrary, and maybe I don't always see the point for where we draw certain lines, especially when there's conditional use issues that will come up. Arbitrary rules tend to just be deterrents. They'll look for a place that lacks those when they're looking to build. So just having a whole lot of arbitrary rules might be what you need instead of prohibiting things if that's what you're trying to do. When I see things like 45 decibels, that's half of a vacuum cleaner. I mean, noise, I grew up in the southern states where the forest is a lot louder than that at nighttime. Can tell you some stories. A few things to keep in mind, though, is there's always concern about electric power bills. And most of that issue that I've been able to figure out is from aging and dilapidated electrical infrastructure for distributing it, not power generation capacity. So one thing that does have to always be brought in mind is, are they going to contribute to ensuring that the grid is being maintained? That's one thing that might actually matter for other local residences. And when it comes to offsetting property taxes, public finance economists like me talk about a flypaper effect, that money just sticks where it lands and gets spent without going where it should. So if we're going to use this to offset property taxes, please be sure that's what happens rather than actually getting new things to spend on.
Thank you.
Austin Burnick, resident of Elk Point, work here in Vermillion in IT, and I'm also running for District 17 rep in the House. I think the biggest issue I had with the original language is having a categorical sizing by acre. And thank you, Noah, for looking into that. But I think that we need to ensure that how we're categorizing is by how much energy these places are using. And so to clear up some of the information here, the data center that's down in Omaha, the data centers that have been built since the beginning of the internet, the primary purpose of those data centers is to store information that you can then get from your phone, your TV, etc. The data centers that are currently being built by Google and Amazon and OpenAI, these are data centers that their primary use is not to store information, but to process information. These are generative AI data centers, crypto mining data centers. These take a lot more power than a traditional data center will. In fact, the numbers are about 3 times as much. And because of that, they generate a lot more heat, which is why you're seeing such a big conversation about how to cool these data centers. A closed loop system that doesn't have evaporation is good, but it also requires more power, because when you run the water through the lines and it runs across these components to cool them, that water becomes hot. Then it goes over to a radiator, and then the fans blow on that radiator to cool the water down so that it can go back through the system again. Those fans require a ton of energy. In fact, somewhere on the East Coast, I unfortunately can't remember the state off the top of my head, they had a closed loop system that was not evaporation. It was a radiator system. They needed permits to run their turbines to cool the water. More Perfect Union did investigative journalism on this data center specifically, and they found that they were running 6 out of the 7 turbines without permits. And nobody would have noticed if it wasn't for an investigative journalist. That is the major issue we have right now, is that there are communities that have ordinances set up. But those ordinances are not enforced, 1, or 2, they are not encapsulating enough variables to actually hold these data center companies accountable for what they're building. This is why, for my personal opinion, we do need a year-long moratorium on AI and crypto mining data centers. And I think that distinction is important. I work in IT. We have data centers that we manage over at Ericsson Solutions Group. But I think that there's some strategic ambiguity by people within the data center lobbyists who are attempting to wash the name data center into something that is more of a positive term, something that you use every day. And so I think we need to ensure that our distinction is clear here, that data centers themselves are not bad. What we need to look at is these AI data centers that have been causing people to get sick in certain areas in Georgia. People are reporting headaches, nausea, anxiety. And the only thing that's changed is that the data centers are built. When we talk about the decibel limits, your vacuum only runs for 30 minutes, an hour. These are running 24/7. You're getting 45 decibels, 24/7. And any audio engineer will tell you that that is not healthy for your ears. And so that is why it's important that we have these decibel readings, and we're ensuring that we have times, like the Planning and Zoning Committee had an ordinance for daylight versus evening hours and decibel limits. I think those are important too. The issue is, as Noah mentioned, he had new research come to him 2 months ago that has changed how he wants to draft these ordinances entirely. And so my question is, why are we rushing these ordinances out when we could take a year, write encapsulating ordinances that ensure that these billion-dollar companies and their multi-million-dollar lawyers don't have any loopholes that they can exploit? That's why I think it is important that we pass a moratorium on AI data centers and Bitcoin or crypto mining data centers.
Suzanne Skirm, 722 Lewis Street here in Vermillion. I also think that this ordinance that you've been drafting, or the P&Z has drafted, it's a good start, but it needs lots more teeth to it. In particular, I'm concerned about the lack of a decommissioning section to that, because you have a data center, you're going to have toxic metals and you're going to have toxic waste. Who's going to clean that up if that data center goes out of business or doesn't get built, as somebody mentioned, bankrupt? That needs to be cleaned up, and that should be the responsibility of the data center. The other thing, one of the other things that concerns me is the noise level, as Austin was talking about, the decibel level, but there's also another level of noise, and that's what's called infrasound. That's sound that's so low that you can't hear it necessarily, but you feel it. You know, think of like I live on a corner where lots of cars go by and they're playing their stereos really loud. The whole house shakes. You can feel the vibration. It's a vibration that's felt. And this is also, it's measured by a DBC scale, not a dBA scale. I think there should be a provision for that in our ordinance, especially because it also has these low sounds have been shown to affect cognitive abilities, emotional states. It makes you anxious, makes you irritable, causes sleep disturbances. It can cause internal ear pressure. It can also cause cardiovascular disease because it raises your stress level, increases the cortisol. And especially important for us in this rural county, how is this going to affect animals? Animals have much more sensitive hearing than we do. And there's been studies that show that livestock is affected by this infrasound. It is less productive. Your livestock is less productive when they're exposed to this. And I can show you the study that talks about this. Some other things recent research has come up with, and maybe we don't think about, we think closed loop systems are the answer to our prayers. Closed loop systems, as somebody said, they're still generating heat. Where's this heat going to go? And you have over time the degradation of those pipes causing heavy metals like copper, cadmium, beryllium, whatever it is that's in there. Those leach out of the pipes. That water is disposed of eventually. It's not used in perpetuity. And where's that water going to go? I mean, if that goes into our groundwater or into our river, that's just contaminating with heavy metals. So I sent you all an ordinance from Alamance County in Iowa, which is a primarily Republican county, and they have a really thorough ordinance regarding data centers, and I hope you will all consider that when you're thinking about this, our ordinance. I could go on, but I won't. The last thing I'd like to say is, why was this not on the agenda that's supposed to be published on Friday on the website, this discussion on the ordinance? It only appeared yesterday, and my understanding is that it's supposed to be on Friday. On Friday, there was only a sentence about discussing the tax ordinance and the burning ordinance.
The agenda gets published 24 hours in advance. When we
Right.
do it on Friday, it's more of an additional measure. So it only has to be published by 9 a.m. the day before the meeting.
Okay, I'm aware of that, but I think
And there's a public notice that goes out for any ordinances that are having a first reading.
right. But the draft of this ordinance was not apparent on the website. It was on the P&Z website. And I think it should have been mentioned on the county commissioner's website that if you want to read this, you need to go over here and look for it. Because otherwise, how do you know? And by not publishing this in advance, I think it looks a little like you're less transparent than we would like you to be. So even though it's legal, you're right. I would have liked to seen this on Friday, so more people would have a chance to come. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rob Marlowe. I live at 218 Elm Street here in Vermillion, South Dakota. And I've been living here in Vermillion since I went to USD in 2017. So I really enjoy this community and I very much care deeply about this community. And I won't take up most of your time. And I promise I will not try to talk down to you. You guys are all very smart people. Noah, I want to really, really respect you. And I think this is really good public work. This is somebody, a public worker who went and wrote an ordinance, wanted to get ahead of an issue, realizing that he had just like gaps in your research, gaps in your knowledge. And then you saw this new research come in and you were like, I can write a better bill. And so you came before the county and you said, hey, let's wait and let's make our better bill. And you guys have all agreed to do that. And with that sense of like urgency and like, hey, we want to make sure we do it right the first time. I believe, I don't remember who it was earlier said, but we want to do things right first and not make up mistakes later. So let's do that right. So let's do data centers right. I think a lot of the issue in here in our community is the issue of hyperscale data centers. And it's not, a lot of people have different like opinions about like when they think of a data center, what do they think of a data center? Noah and I were talking before this, how he thinks of a data center as a place where Hulu, Netflix, they store their information so that you and I can enjoy our housing. Austin mentioned hyperscale data centers about, AI data centers and also crypto data centers that generate, just process information rather than actually store. And I think that's the big issue, big disconnect between the public's idea of data centers and their actual public good about it. If we could expand the definitions to include, instead of just saying low, small, large, based on a megawatt count, maybe we could talk about the exact type of data center that they are. To me, I don't really see the public benefit of a crypto generating data center in the Clay County besides property taxes. And if that's the only benefit to it, then why are we allowing that when we can allow other things that store our data, like Noah said? But again, I would just ask for a bigger, more expanding definition of what data centers would be allowed in Clay County, because I think the big issue is a lot of people in the Clay County is that we are fearful of the AI and the cryptocurrency data centers and not necessarily the storage data centers. So I would really like that more defined. And additionally, as you go back to write this bill, I would ask more public comment period to be adjusted. I mean, last week at the zoning commission, we had a full house. They were standing there. People in this community want to have their voices heard on this subject. And I would like the commission and maybe even the committee to allow for more open public comments. With that, I will shout out the thing at the library today. Isn't the thing at the library today about data centers?
Yes.
In 30 minutes noon, if it seems like you all really, really care about this issue and you care about the Vermillion community, I would suggest I would like to see you all there. I will be there myself, and that way we can all be beneficial in learning about the pros and cons of data centers together. That's all I'd like to say. Thank you.
Hello there, my name is Joe Apley. I live in Union County, I'm a resident there, but I was a resident here in Vermillion for 10+ years. I'm also a small farmer. I'm glad to hear some of these revisions. One of the things I was wanting to hear today was about conditional use permits. I would also like to sign on with the notion of a 12-month moratorium. I think that there's a lot of things that aren't known about data centers. I think that for me as a small producer, I have a lot of concerns about water usage, power. These are things that allow my business to operate, running bins during drying season, having cattle be able to drink at a well. And yeah, I have deep concerns. I also admit that I probably haven't heard from as many folks as you have, but where I live, anyone that I talk to in rural areas, they do not like the idea. They want a prohibition. They do not want that. So I would hope that you would take that into consideration. Outside of that, I think, I wanted to also mention, we heard earlier about the scaling that's going on in Texas. As I understand earlier this month, Greg Abbott put a moratorium to halt all further production and pause things in the state of Texas. So I hope that you would also take that into consideration, that these things are scaling quickly, and even in the places that have really wanted to adopt them, they're saying, we don't know how to do this. We need to scale back, pause things until we can have things under control. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks.
Once again, Caitlin Collier, I'm 17 Eastgate. I decided I wanted to be at the end of the line because I'm a lawyer. And after all, you interview a client, you go back and forth and you look at the evidence and you hear what they have to say. Lawyer is the one who has to say, well, that's fine and good, but let's look at the facts. Let's look at the truth. And let's look at what's going to happen. I realize that I'm something of a Cassandra because at least 3 of you are not going to listen to anything I say. Just going to go right here, somewhere back there, which is too bad because I'm still licensed to practice. I can still write up a beautiful referendum petition just like that. So I want to mention that it's been about 4 weeks now that I have been going and talking to people in zoning and saying the law, the state law, the one that even makes anything here possible, says you use megawatts, not acres. And it's taken 4 weeks for that to get through to anybody. If you don't read state law, you're gonna get your ass handed to you on a platter. And that's just the way it is. You may have a state attorney, but guess what? He's got to uphold the state constitution and the state law. He can't protect you from yourselves. I would also note in terms of some of the things that some people have mentioned. Having been a lobbyist and legislator, we have this we have this data center protection. It's a Bill of Rights for the people. And people are talking about, well, we're going to tax this, property tax that. I hope you understand and realize, especially when we're looking at who's likely to be our governor in 2027, that any property tax relief that you might receive from a data center will go absolutely away if the state legislature passes a bill signed into law by the governor that enacts tax relief for data centers. You want to know how many states did that? It's all those ones who are early adopters. Early adopters. Come on in, guys. We're going to give you tax relief for your property taxes. So keep that in mind. It all depends upon who goes to the legislature next January. Somebody mentioned, I believe the economics professor, that judgments from decommissioning are hard to collect. Well, he's not telling you something you don't know. You know, I know you all know Art Rush. I stepped into the law firm that he was at. We had $60,000 of judgments against non-paying clients. He first became a judge, and then he became a legislator. So about 30 years after those judgments went into place, even Art said, just keep it, just drop them, it's never gonna happen. It's true. They are hard to collect, but they're not meant to be collected. Decommissioning is meant to tell anyone who wants to come in here and build a data center, if you do so, there's going to be some extra costs for you if you just up and leave. That is much more likely. We, 3 days ago, Bank of America said they were going to give $1.5 billion for data center infrastructure. Now you might think, gee, Bank of America, that's a really big financial corporation. They're yeah, right. Well, if you look at who owns majority shares of Bank of America, you will find the same people who are looking to build large scale data centers. Okay. They've already bought everybody out. They own it all now, majority share anyway. There's a lot of talk about electricity. There's certainly concerns. You should be aware that newer data centers, Elon Musk comes to mind, are using gas generators. Gas generators. So you know what that will do. I am concerned about the noise, and I think one of the things that we often, when we're talking about decibels, we kind of forget where we are. We forget where we are in this place, in this nature. You ever stood on the bluff edge in Vermilion and heard a gunshot? No, never done that? Down in the valley? You can hear it clear as a bell. No matter where it came from, no matter how far away it is. You can hear that cyclist. We live in the wide open spaces, guys. You know, I hear a car backfiring, it may be 6 blocks away. The dog that keeps barking at 10:30 at night, he actually lives over in a whole nother section of town. The other thing I feel the need to tell you about, talk about, which hasn't been brought up, but really should, considering one of the things that you've taken care of, is fire. To the best of my knowledge, and please tell me if I'm wrong, there is no county fire department. Is that correct? There's no county fire department, is there?
Well, you've got the volunteers and you've got the Vermillion Fire Department.
Oh, you've got county volunteers. Are they part of the Vermillion Fire Department?
Well, some would be. I mean, it depends on where you live,
Okay,
and everything's in the county. So,
but they're all volunteers, right?
yeah, except Matt and
Right.
one or two others.
Right. So basically, anywhere in the county, you're dealing with volunteer firemen. They're not getting paid. They do this because they're gonna fight fires. Fires in data centers are very different than other fires. Easy entry into data centers does not exist. The security is tight, difficult to navigate, as shown by a recent incident in Iowa, which if you were following this, you would have known a contractor got trapped underneath a construction elevator while they were working on building a data center. Emergency crews had to go to 3 different entries to try and get in. It ended up, I don't know, I think it was the poor sheriff. We ended up having to call into the data center and say, open the damn gates. Because we had to get this guy out, he's dead. So that is something you need to consider, is fire. Who's going to respond to it? Who's going to take care? Second, fires in data centers are different because of the components. Uninterruptible power supplies, UPS units, and battery banks, which store large amounts of energy, are high in lithium. And they present high thermal runaway risk and intense heat release when ignited. For example, I don't know if it actually happened here, it's all gossip, but there are a number of places, even in South Dakota, where lithium battery electric bicycles have started fires, usually in a garage, but sometimes if you leave that sucker inside, you'll get hot enough and it will start a fire. So there's also the fact that these server racks that we're talking about, and has already been mentioned, can get to extreme temperatures because of the processing loads. This can be an ignition potential, especially if it's under ventilated. So we don't know anything about how they have to ventilate, nothing in there. There's also electrical load imbalance. I'm not going to go on but I wanted to bring up to you that whole thing. You're concerned about fires in the county. If you're going to invite somebody to have an industry, for God's sakes, if you don't care about anything else, care about our volunteer firefighters and make sure that there is something in there that's going to protect them or at least aid them when they're trying to do their jobs. The last thing, and it's the hardest thing, I mean, it really is. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to be a researcher to follow all of the data center issues and fights going on around the country. You don't even have to go very far from South Dakota. Look at Minnesota, look at Iowa, look at North Dakota, look at northern South Dakota, and see what's happening. And I can tell you what's happening. City councils and county commissioners who get on the wrong side of this issue, and the wrong side being the one that does not match up with the voters, are going to find themselves out of a job. And I'm not talking elections, I'm talking recalls. And if you don't think that would happen, just take a minute and check and research that one. See how many times that's happened. Hell, there are places in Iowa the county commissioners have had to move because of threats death threats, threats of burning down people's houses. This is in a town of 600 people. There is so much at risk here, so much at risk for everybody here, that the idea that you wouldn't take as much time and trouble with trying to craft an ordinance that's going to meet the needs and protect people's health and safety is just, it's really beyond understanding to me. If you're not here to protect us, then why are you here?
Hey, I'd love to comment in the chat. Is that enough or do I need to read it out loud? Bruce Gray here from 804 Canby Street.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Do you want me to read that or is it?
Read. I guess we
Okay.
we didn't see it. Sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to note I couldn't find any mention of this meeting in either the latest Plain Talk or Broadcaster, and it seems like I would hope things of this significant interest would be publicly advertised to get more people in. So,
And it was.
all right. I agree that we should not rush our creation of an ordinance and for related to data centers, but should proceed carefully and thoughtfully with robust public input. And I'm grateful. It sounds like you're likely to table this ordinance. So thank you for your attention. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. Sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
I'll be brief. Did all of you see the cartoon in the Plain Talk, this week? It, is talking with his doctor and says, my grades are bad. Could you give me a shot of artificial intelligence? No. So one question is, do we need more artificial intelligence? For what? We're inundated. Both kids and adults are addicted to screen time instead of spending time with each other and in the natural world. You know, somebody referred to the wide open spaces. Like if it's not in the city limits, if it's out in the country, it's okay. Well, I happen to live in wide open spaces out on Frog Creek Road. Last night, I was sitting out on my patio at dusk and I heard three sounds: a whippoorwill, a screech owl, and a coyote. I like it that way. I don't want to hear a constant hum. It was said that we should be open to having a conversation. I think with hyperscale data centers. I think the purpose of ordinances and the purposes of elected officials are to get the facts straight and write ordinances that protect us before the horse is out of the barn. And one last thing, as the ordinance evolved, I would suggest one thing, and that is that the energy used by a data center of any size be provided by renewable energy, or that they offset their usage of our energy resources with renewable energy from elsewhere. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment and turn it back to the commissioners.
Well, before I read, do my motion again, I just want to comment on some of the public comments. Because we were told we're going to hear some facts. What I hear is a lot of what ifs. We can't make decisions on what ifs. And telling me, this is just my personal opinion, telling me that my job's in jeopardy because of voters. I don't take this job to get votes. I take it to work for everybody in the county, not a certain group, not a certain party. So that I take offense to of somebody trying to threaten my job, which this isn't a thankful job, but I do this job for the people, not to get voted back in. That's not what I'm here for. So that said, I'm gonna make a motion to table this ordinance.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? No, in the ordinance, I didn't see where our crypto, is that allowed?
So the way it is right now, so the only thing I truly did prohibit was the shipping containers in the current ordinance written. It's so that shipping containers, rail cars, semi-trailers to be converted into data centers.
Okay.
So that's what we prohibited already. Because those are the ones, when you see the Bitcoin mining data centers, those are what they primarily use.
Okay.
So
I have a follow-up question for you too, if it's all right. I attended the City Planning and Zoning Commission hearing where they just did a first reading and I put our ordinance next to theirs, kind of comparing and contrasting and knowing that down the road, we'll probably need to write a JJZA ordinance, right? And it's gonna need to align those. So is the city's version, it looked like you guys were working in concert. Is the city's versions kind of a newer version? Does that represent some of the?
yeah, so the city is once again a separate entity.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
They took our template and modified it to a city.
Okay.
Once again, this was written.
Yeah. Yep. No, and that was the
Yeah.
expectations. It
Yeah.
seemed like some of the things, some of the ambiguities, maybe in the one
Yeah.
for 522 seemed like they were clarified a little in that. So
Yeah, and-
I just wanted to see if.
Yeah,
where
and
that was.
Jose and I talked about it. The plan for the joint jurisdiction one is to go, all right, you and you,
Yeah.
let's put them together and take what the community likes the most out of both of them and
Yeah.
merge.
So, and I love that process.
Yeah,
We started with one, handed over to the city, they built theirs off that. And I think that, returning and looking at what some of those modifications were and considering whether they're appropriate for ours is probably a great part of the section.
And I just want to state that if they do build one, they still have to meet IBC standards. So IBC 24, so a giant commercial shop like that would still have to have sprinklers, emergency exits, fire department access, all that fun stuff. And we can always hire Alex over at the city to come out and do inspections for this. That is something we have the privilege to do in our ordinance currently. So just to
Most of those have fire suppression where basically clear the roof and they suck all the air out.
So, no, because it's along the same lines as like the Tesla factories, what they use is pretty much the same as aircraft sprinklers, and it just foams the room out. So
That all that won't be involved in our ordinance. That's all building.
that's all building code.
So
Yeah,
That's not our concern. It's
Cool.
building codes is fire suppression. It's.
correct. Yes. So like that's, one of the reasons I didn't add anything like that into this language is because IBC does cover those said issues. But so am I taking this back to the planning commission, or do you guys want me to modify the changes?
Is that a yes?
Ultimately, I think that that's the wisest move forward, given the amount of, oftentimes we'll, this board has heard a first reading, had some input, made some adjustments, had a second first reading. But here it seems like it's a pretty comprehensive major change, comprehensively looking at it. My recommendation would be that while you've tabled it, perhaps a more appropriate thing to do procedurally would be to push this back to planning and zoning rather than table for a second first reading.
Well, can we, since we tabled it, or we haven't done it yet, but can't we work through the process to see what we want and then send that back to planning and zoning?
I mean, we can.
Because if they don't put in what we want.
Recommendation. I think really this is the opportunity to. I think more appropriately, this is the opportunity for you to voice what your concerns would be and what you would like to see in that, modified, changed, added, subtracted from this ordinance. Return it back to planning and zoning, let them work through it again, and then bring it back to this board. I know it's clunky, and will create more, it's gonna take longer through that process, but then it's gonna allow planning and zoning to do what they're designed to do.
Okay. So is it, and I didn't see it, the power generation, is that part of this ordinance then?
So
That we're to have on site?
yeah, we don't have anything we have our separate solar ordinances, so if we
Yeah, but
wanted
I
to.
meant like, if it's a natural gas generator?
No, we don't have anything in the books yet for this. What is it? I can't think of any local facilities.
You
I'd be
have
quick
in
to
this one, you've got the data center mechanical equipment that provides energy. You know, one of the things that's included on there is it could provide energy for the data center. And then later you have a little bit of discussion of generators
Yep, so
in
that,
the noise section, I think primarily, right? So that generators, except for generator testing or commissioning activities, generator use is limited to backup emergency use only. So in some ways, it almost sounds like
But some of them talk about,
on-site generation is prohibited. Yep.
a lot of them talk about creating their own power plant. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm wondering what.
Yep.
yeah, I know there is a push currently. I think it's like one or two are looking at massive solar fields. Another one or two are looking at nuclear power plants. Obviously that would generate power for the entire community because it's a lot. You're also looking at the hydro dams. You know, they're modifying dams to where they can put hydropower in. I know that was one discussion that occurred. I don't know if they went through with that one or not, just because that's a large modification to a major structure.
Well, they have mini nuclear plants now too. So
Right, yeah, I mean, you're seeing them going up in, I think there's one down in Nebraska now. Texas, I think you're looking at one on the east side of the Dallas-Fort Worth area going up. So, I mean, the technology is better than it was back in Chernobyl days.
My concern on the power generation right now would be that they can't sell that to private individuals. Also, because that will make people's electric rates go up inadvertently.
So,
Sell it back to the grid, but they can't sell it. They can't pick and choose customers.
so you want me to add verbiage of saying you can't sell to individuals or
Yeah, so they can sell it back to the grid.
grid set? Okay, so they can, if one decides to have power generation, they can give it back to the grid, but not to individuals.
Right, because
Okay.
the law allows them to, and I'm just gonna use Masaba as an example.
Yep.
Because they're on the edge of town and they're large, that company could go to Masaba and sell them power directly. Which that helps lower the cost in Vermillion, I believe, for kilowatt hours. Yes, sir.
Sorry, I just have.
You have to come to the microphone, sorry.
I would just have a concern about that because for me as a small producer, again, I'm not allowed to put up my own solar power and sell it back to the grid. Why is this company being allowed to do that? I get charged, in fact, if I am putting power back onto the grid. Now, maybe if they're building the infrastructure to allow other people to do things like that, but it just seems like another handway and give away to the big companies that can do this kind of stuff.
As an individual, you can build.
I can build them, but I can't sell excess power that I produce. I get charged, put it in, if it's going back onto the grid, I get fined for it. That's the way laws are currently written in South Dakota.
Okay, it's not how I understood it, because I have a friend trying to do it.
Most states, South Dakota has no net metering law. Again, legislature voted that down.
So you're saying that even if they generated more, they can't sell it back to the grid anyway?
Well, if you're.
Is that correct?
Here in Vermillion and you generate, or put back on the grid like a couple of people have tried to do, I think you get 1.5 cents per kilowatt hour what you sell back, so it's obviously not an incentive.
Which is fine. I'm just trying to protect your electrical rates by not allowing them to sell to, because they can sell to individual users.
I'm not sure how to apply to the corporation. I don't know.
I'm trying to make sure that they don't cherry pick the large customers.
Yeah.
Now, if they want to sell it back at a cent and a quarter, and it costs them more money than that, that's on them. I'm not trying to regulate their business.
I think in Minneapolis or in Minnesota, if you generate excess renewable energy, you can sell it back for 3.5 cents, or the cost of the power company pays of the market, which makes sense.
Is it clear as mud now?
Yeah, I know. I mean, the list is pretty long. I think that we need
Yeah.
to do like a markup walkthrough.
Yeah, and that's what the,
It's, Noah's got what's recording.
yeah, and that's, and I'm definitely gonna
that's
be
where I'm
going
at.
back through this.
Listen through for the consensus items and then.
Yeah, no, that's the plan. I mean, I still need to go through and modify and present it back to planning and zoning. Just cause, I mean, this is meeting number 4 now, cause we had the one previously that was just discussing it. And then 2 planning and zonings in today. So. All published.
Okay, so once again, I'm gonna rescind my motion. The table is,
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to make another motion then?
and I'll make a motion to send this back to planning and zoning for review changes.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes. You should have made the motion so Marty could yell at him. Sending it back.
We'll find something.
Huh.
I'm up next, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for sitting through the long meeting and offering your comments. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Noah.
Veteran service.
So you probably won't see us at the noon meeting.
Yeah, record it, and send it to Noah.
Have a forum anyway.
That's right. Good point.
Did we let Brent know yet, or is he coming?
I just texted him.
Okay.
He's on the Zoom too, but I
Okay.
just texted him.
Noah, resolution 2026-20 to close office for training.
Yes, so I got my planning zoning training next week. I'd really like to focus on just training instead of taking phone calls and training at the same time. And then next month I have my annual VA training that is required per state. So for us to get funding, I have to go to this one. And it's a good time. They're both up in Sioux Falls. So if a veteran does need me, I can come in after hours and do a home visit. Doesn't bother me none.
Move to approve resolution 2026-20. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
We have to do a roll call.
Yeah, we will. Hearing none, roll call.
Foster.
Yep.
Graylow.
Yep.
Brady.
Yes.
Easy.
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Noah.
Carrie, do you have?
Really,
copies?
thank you, Noah.
Yeah.
Do I have, oh,
Copies to sign. I can stop upstairs too.
yeah, I forgot the copies upstairs, but
Okay. Buzz, Lisa, and Scott.
I do have a 4 o'clock meeting today. Ditching out then. Yeah, exactly.
So we're here to talk about the registered deeds project.
I think you'll like it.
So I think if you recall, we came and talked to you guys about moving Lisa. We're doing a little revamping in the old treasurer's office, moving around over there. There's issues in her current vault with the computer rack in there and the switch producing too much heat for those old records. So the plan was to move her over there. So we got a price from Lloyd Construction of $51,000 to do some refurbishing within that treasurer's space, old space, and an additional $14,000 for the table. What do you call that table? Table, okay. Oh, it's a rather expensive table.
96 storage spaces in it.
Yeah.
So. No, I'd skip the gold.
So since Lisa is of the apprehensive nature, I found out, which is a good thing. And so we had the conversation. She said, well, if I could just get that table in my vault and get the space condition, I have space for 90, I have places for 96 more record books. And in the course of the conversation, I said, and you could use the old treasurer's vault for overflow. So with that said, if we go this route with moving the mini split over there and purchasing the table, we're looking at a $20,000 project versus the other project was 65,000. So, yeah.
Plus, I just really, the thought of moving all those books makes me want to cry. And spending all that money.
But are they gonna be okay though, in that vault,
We'll put a mini split in there.
in your current office?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because that's the main thing is the temperature. The
Mhm.
temperature regulation in there is awful right now. So if we can fix the temperature and fix the space problem, that should hopefully going forward solve my issues that I've never had prior to all of this, by the way.
So we're leaving the computer rack in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna add air conditioning.
And yeah, and then hopefully get that table.
What's the lifespan of the mini split?
I have no idea. This one out here, I propose to take the one out of the shop in the block building since we're gonna be putting our shop down here in the underground garage. It was brand new and was put in here 3 years ago and it's seldom used, only when we're in there working, but that's,
We have a mini split in the server room on the main floor, and I bet it's probably been in there about 10 years.
I just asked AI. Speaking. Good timing for that.
Did you get that stored information?
They says typically last 10 to 15 years, though some higher quality ones, 15 to 20 years with proper care. Lifespan depends heavily on quality, yeah, and usage, that's what it says, environmental stress, routine upkeep.
Well, the only reason I ask is it's a cheaper fix, but is it gonna cost us more in the long term?
This is what we discussed initially though, right? Was the mini split?
Well, initially that was what we thought would be the best solution. And then, we looked at the space down there and we were like, oh, we could, use that space. And we thought that space was a little bigger. But then when we actually broke it down into how many books I have, we realized there wasn't enough space in that vault anyway. So it wouldn't really be helping with my space issue that I ran into once the computer stuff came in. Because it used to be I had enough space because I had a rolling rack that held quite a bit. But when I had to move that out of there to make space for the bump out and then the rack, I lost a bunch of space for my books. So the temperature is one thing, but then the space, I'm running out of space. And we had talked about moving my books down to the basement, but then we realized that won't work either because of the temperature control.
Yep.
So, because we need to make sure that the books stay in a controlled environment. So, yeah,
And your vault was working fine until
It
the
was-
rack went in.
absolutely.
So, in the old treasurer's vault works off the same fan coil unit system, so her record should be fine in there. Close the door, maintain it at a low temperature.
But I actually have a solution to all of that too.
What's that?
I have another solution that
Okay.
piggybacks off of this. So instead of asking for, the move and that project, we just need the table and the mini split now. But then I talked to my image system software company, Microfilm Imaging. They have a giant scanner that I would like to rent for a few months to scan all of those books that are currently the issue. They're the books that are up top that were in the flood that I don't let anybody look at anyway because they're full of gross stuff. But per codified law, if I scan those and I microfilm those, I can get rid of them. So ideally, I would love to rent this scanner, do the scanner project, get rid of how many books did we decide that were up there? There were a lot of books up there.
Remember?
Yeah, because we realized that if we took all those books down and put them in the new table, it would pretty much fill the new table. So if I can scan those books, make them digital, get them to the archives, the state archives, they'll have a copy, we'll have a copy, everybody will have a copy. I can get rid of those books, which are kind of a health hazard anyway. So my question is, I did not plan on this project because I didn't realize I was going to have this whole situation even happen to me. So I am asking for a little bit of forgiveness if I go over my budget in terms of this project, because the project is going to run about $6,500 to rent this scanner, get everything scanned, get everything, sent to Omaha to be stored, and then also go to Pier. That's the base is about $6,500, and that'll take a couple months. So that's where I'm at. I would like to have the permission to possibly go over my budget, beg for forgiveness later, I guess. I don't know how that all works, but
There, that was simple.
what?
No.
Okay, well, we can go with it. I mean, I'm just trying to make space in this vault that hopefully will last for the length of building.
When was the flood?
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
1880 flood?
Yeah.
It was below the hill?
These books are old and gross.
Christina says there are approximately 84 books.
Oh, there's 84 books up top.
Who said that?
Christina.
No.
She's probably there. I say, is she on here?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's under your name.
She's Rachel. So anyway, I'm just asking, like I said, I'd like to do this project. It would require, not really require, but I would like to hire my daughter to come in and scan the books so that I'm not taking Christina and I off of actual, customer face-to-face work. I'd like to hire Maggie to come in after school to do all the scanning and pay her as a county employee if I could.
Is that legal?
Pursuant to our policy manual, you're not allowed to have anyone, like relatives of that capacity can't work inside the same office. So it's not illegal, but it's against policy.
Okay. I was like, I feel like I read something
For
specifically.
full time?
Well,
I don't think it specifies.
because it would be like 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Until this project is done. And the project hopefully will be 3 months because I have to rent the scanner for 3 months. It's required that I rent it for 3 months and I don't really want to have to pay more than that. So ideally we get it done in 3 months and then I don't have to pay more.
But she won't be here. Oh, no, she's a senior this
She
year.
is a senior.
Sorry.
And that's another reason it's like, well, the senior schedule is so strange that I'm like,
Oh, That's why you're still holding it together. If she was going to Iowa next week.
Yeah.
then-
I wouldn't, yeah.
So how short in your budget do you think you're gonna be on the 6,500?
Well, that's the other thing. If I can use my M&P because I have quite a bit in my M&P. I think, yeah, I've got enough in my M&P. If I don't pay for, okay, I can use my M&P, but I can't use my M&P to pay for the scan, like Maggie. If I was able to hire her. But I could use my M&P. However, that would take quite a chunk out of my M&P, which I had planned to use for next year's budget for my software. So this is where I'm like running into the problem. It's probably not gonna be a problem for this budget, but next year's budget, which I've already told you I'm good with. But again, I hadn't planned on all of this. So this is kind of a new development. So I would probably need more money next year possibly.
So you won't need anything. Will you still need the vault in Rhonda's old
No.
vault? Not at all.
Mm-mm. If I can get rid of all those books, that will take care of a lot of problems going forward.
And then we don't need the mini split either.
Well, we do need the mini split.
Oh, we do.
Yeah,
For-
because I'm not gonna get rid of,
You're getting.
for my
rid of
current,
certain
I'm not
amount.
getting rid of all of my books, just
Okay.
the really old ones that
Okay.
don't get used on a daily basis, like the ones that are up top. I don't even let anybody look.
Understood.
So,
okay.
but the current books get used all the time.
Are you moving those to your new office then? The books that get used a lot?
I'm not moving.
This is
I thought
her
you were.
staying.
Oh,
No, I'm
this is just-
staying.
This is for you to stay.
This is for me to stay.
Yeah. Oh.
This is taking away the, $60,000 project and replacing it with a new table and
So do you have the 20 in your budget then?
Say what?
The $20,000, is
for the
that?
video
No.
table.
So we're looking.
No, I mean, we talked about
No.
this. Yeah, we talked about this, $65,000 project. No, I did not have any of that considered into,
Right, but 20,000.
2027. No.
No, neither.
I mean, if my budget's approved, I do have significant funds in there for, major improvements, could take out of there to accomplish this.
Have you earmarked for next year on those funds, what they're gonna be for?
Particular projects. Yeah, I do have a list.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
So you're staying put,
I am.
but I'm thinking of what we were gonna do. Are we still, can they use Rhonda's old room as is
For the,
for the visiting lawyers and?
yes, so
Oh.
that's kind of a conversation Scott and I have already had, kind of runs adjacent to this. Scott had met, maybe I'll let you speak, because my idea was it would be to the county's benefit, to have a couple of areas for attorneys to meet with folks. And the basement, while it's open, it's just feasibly, it's infeasible. Second floor is even, not great, but it's 5 times, 10 times better than having people in the basement needing to get up to the third floor or court. So the conversation we had was, is there a way in which we can modify the treasurer's office to allow for more than just one attorney? Right now, of course, we have a contract with Seth Klintz as our primary public defender, but of course, we work with other public defenders and hired private attorneys, somewhere where they can meet with a client prior to court. So rather than having a conversation about a large scale project and construction project, my proposal was, what if we went and got at least an idea for cost of putting up like some temporary
Cubicles.
There can be a little bit of separation between the two of them. So Scott's been in, we don't have
Yeah.
quote back, but we've talked with them about an idea to where we can permit Seth a designated area as the public defender in 2026, 2027, 2028. We know that we're gonna have that contract with him. But then also to permit that space, which is very large, to serve more than just him. And when there's a need like today, where there's 10 to 12 attorneys up at the floor while we're sitting here. So that is in the works. That I anticipate would be, significantly less than doing a whole rework of the treasurer's office and
To do.
still provide.
It would, but this is just my opinion. Why can't they come down here? I mean, not Seth, but the other attorneys.
The hard part is that oftentimes this is all transpiring when they're going in and out of the courtroom. So these conversations are all taking place right as court is starting, while court is in session. And so the judges are not going to be very amenable to, we're gonna have to wait while they go down to the basement of the courthouse and then back up continuously, which is going to create delays within the court system.
But at some point, we have got to stop spending money.
And as it currently sits, it can be used. I mean, currently, and I've talked to Seth, he's 100% fine with just walking into that space as it is. He says, I don't need anything. I don't need to lock anything up. He can take everything with him. Other attorneys in the past have felt differently about that we've contracted for our public defender. Some of the previous public defenders have wanted to keep files here, wanted to keep documents here that do need to be under lock and key. Seth doesn't do that right now. So in 2026 and even 2027, if we just keep that treasurer space as is, I think you've already placed a table in there, right? And a key has been made to give to Seth so that he can utilize that space. It's available for that use. It would be beneficial to create, kind of a secondary area inside that same space in which another attorney could utilize to meet with clients. Not a need, it would just benefit the county, and at some point, it would be much cheaper to do that with the use of cubicles compared to
$72,000 was Lloyd's price to transform that space into 2 offices.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, it's an elevator ride. We put a brand new elevator in. And there's 3 offices. There's the old break room and there's 2 offices in Lene's room. There's 3 attorneys that.
They don't even have to get out of the elevator, just leave the door.
That's right.
Is there a security risk, Andy, for having lawyers and clients in the basement?
Well, I don't think they're gonna let the.
Public's allowed now. It's not a secure area.
realistically, they won't use it. Realistically, just because of the way the court, I mean, they may use it if it's available to them for like, hey, I need to come and have a meeting, you know, for prep a witness or whatever prior to court. This would be a good space for that to be allowable for them. On court day, when court's in session, which is usually when they're meeting with clients, this area will never be used, even if it's open to them.
They use the benches on the second floor for their meetings right now.
They do.
I mean, that's where the majority of them.
Right.
Yeah, I think just give Seth the treasurer's office and
And that's what sets our, or that's what we've already done. There's already a space set up there for him.
you'll just have to lock the vault.
I probably won't even be using the vault in that office.
Do we even know the combination to the vault?
No, I don't think so.
I thought Rhonda had it.
Not sure.
Trying to have that.
I'm sure she does.
She does not.
I have mine, but I don't know
I
if
think
she
I know
has
where
hers.
Chris down at.
Yeah. Mine,
Are they all the same?
no. And the key.
How do you know that if you don't know them?
Because we talked about it when I was gonna move over there. I know my option, but we had talked about, when we talked about me moving over there, there's locked cabinets in there that I needed the key for. Rhonda didn't have a key for that. She was pretty sure there wasn't a key. I have my keys
It's probably at Kathy's house.
very well.
She probably knows the combination.
I'm sure she does.
We got a lot of courthouse keys. I recently
Well,
went
and
through
we
trying to
talked
find.
about that too, like,
box.
I had all these keys and we're like, well, we could test them all out and see if these keys work, but again, I don't wanna move. I don't want to, and I think my exact words were, I don't wanna add more money to what has already become a very, you know, I mean, every time we talk, it's like, oh my gosh, and I didn't ask for any of this. Like, I didn't want to do anything with my office. I was perfectly content with what I had and where I was, and but now it's like I'm having to figure out how to adjust, which I will. But I just need a little bit of forgiveness if I go over with my project, and I'd like a new table. I just want a new table. Don't give me a new office.
So the tables, you want the table for the current books?
Yes.
For, that are
Yes.
used, okay.
Yes. Yep. Yes, because if you go into my vault, which you are all more than welcome to come into my vault. I have a lot of books. A lot of them are used on a daily basis. But then there are the ones that are up top, the 84 that don't get used. And those are the ones I want to get out of there, even for health reasons. And then there is like some that are on the sides that are really old that once we get scanned, hopefully we can get rid of those. But then the table will be used for the current books and for the growth of the county books going forward. So.
When you, if you do the scan things, you're gonna scan all the old, are you gonna scan the current ones too?
The current ones we scan right now.
You do.
So the scanning is all from like 15 years ago to present, everything is scanned.
Okay, so that's current.
Yes,
So it's just
yep,
those
it's all the old stuff. Like back, like 15 years ago, there was a big scanning project that was done. And then that was before my time, but everything gets scanned today, like as we do it. So there is no catch, I mean, it's basically just
Catching up.
getting all the history.
Yep.
You know, and like I said, hopefully that's stuff that we can send to the archives, the state archives, hopefully, because I'm sure they would take a look. But like I said, I don't even let anybody touch them. The last people who touched them was the guys who moved them during the project.
For the MEP, mechanical electrical plumbing
Mhm.
project.
Yeah. We moved them so that they didn't get
Yeah.
wet. In case there was any. They were the flood, so.
You want to wake anything up?
Exactly.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have to find the money somewhere, somehow.
It's a lot less money.
It is, but it's still. But if we just have Scott do less next year. On your projects,
Yeah.
but you're probably wanting that mini split here pretty quick. Correct?
Because the biggest problem that we ran into was the heat, like when it was really cold outside and it was like 87 degrees in the vault. And there was no way of cooling it down. So yes, ideally, the mini split by fall would be.
Of course, we have the mini split,
Right.
but we wouldn't have to get the desk until next year.
Well, how good is that quote? Do we know?
Oh, they usually give you 30 days on the quote.
Because we got two quotes on the table.
Yeah, one was 14 and the other was 11. We weren't quite sure. We're looking at apples to apples there from two different companies because there's $4,000 difference. But I think after we did the math, shipping and all that, that they came out about the same from either company. One's in Kentucky and one's in Sioux City. So
But then again, if I do my project, then maybe we could, I just don't want to delay it too much and have the price go up next year.
Is the cheaper one in Kentucky? Of course.
And it's a big table. What is it like?
I don't remember. It's large, but it will fit.
And it will replace the two tables that I have currently. Do not have storage. But it creates 96 roll racks.
And we pretty much blew through the contingency, right?
Probably. Yeah.
Well, I am fine with doing the mini split right away, if we can. And just doing the scanning, getting that, because the scanning project I want to start in October. And then have it hopefully only be 3 months. And if when I'm all done, if I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all this space, then maybe we don't need the table. But I also, it's not like the county records are gonna stop anytime soon.
Right.
How much is the table?
14,000.
That with the shipping in?
So
Yeah,
why
it
would
might
a
be a little,
14?
might be a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Depending
cheap
on
one
where you
has
get
more
it.
shipping?
Yeah, depending on. And we even looked at getting more shelving units, but that really wasn't an option either. There was just no room. There was no room for that. So. And like I said, if I have to, I can do the scanning project on my own with my M&P money. But next year, when I go to pay my software that I had intended on using M&P money for if I'm out, that's when I'm going to be coming to you saying, okay, this costs more than I thought it was going to, I need more money. So that's a next year problem, I guess, so.
And next year you'll have a fresh contingency fund.
Yeah.
I hate to say that
Yeah.
because we always use it,
I
but
think that's how we should probably operate, but whoever you hire, M&P will not cover, correct?
Correct.
Their wages.
Mhm. However, there may be a workaround that I need to talk to my company and see if I can do a workaround. So, because hypothetically, I could ask MIS to hire somebody and then I pay them and they pay the wages for the person I hire. Or they hire. Either way, I'm gonna either pay for that person.
We're paying for it one way or the other.
Right. But if I use my M&P money, that's not money that is in the county. I mean, that's my money, that's the registered.
It's
funds
budgeting,
money.
yeah.
It's part of my budget,
Yeah.
but it's like I'm either paying it this way or this way. This one is a little more, the M&P part doesn't really affect you guys as much as this one does,
So if you can scan with the M&P, we can move the mini split.
What's the mini split gonna cost?
6. Right there, right around there.
To move?
To move and put in?
Yeah, to move it to put in. Electrical has to be run. It's sit on the west lower roof. So it's not visible or aesthetically pleasing to the eye.
Just hang it out there, just get an air window, air conditioning, stick it out.
Can't. because of the way the windows are. I think we actually joked about that. We were like, we can't even do that. So.
So let's start there. We'll have to, probably gonna have to wait on the table until first.
And like I said, maybe after my project, I'll be like, oh, we're good for now.
That work for everybody?
Yeah. I agree with that.
We need a motion. We're not spending money.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not sure that you would even a motion for. I think this is.
It's already budgeted money.
Make a motion to make the lease.
Pretty easy going.
Good, she's happy. Yeah, we're good. He's happy.
Maybe like twice a year.
So yeah, there's room that cut that down.
Maybe you'll see me next, Travis. I don't know.
So, just so we're clear, I don't have the money to move the mini split. I'm pretty tight of thin, if not starving to death right now.
Yeah, we still need to do, we'll need to do a budget supplement when the grant money and stuff comes back in for Scott's.
Hopefully,
budget.
hopefully, I'll be send some paperwork to UJS beginning next week to get some our funds coming from the courtroom security project and the door security project. I'll also have a Zoom with them on Friday. I sent in 2 more grant requests for these other 2 projects that we green lighted as we were going along, the court services project, the pre-wiring of the doors that I took out of my building improvement fund. So even though the projects were completed or substantially completed, our UJS allowed me to file for a grant.
So you've paid for the projects.
I've paid for the door security project, yes.
And there should be grant money coming back in.
Hopefully there'll be grant money coming back for that. That was 14,000. And then the public defender office was 72,000.
So that goes back into the general fund, so.
We'll still, well, it'll get auto supplemented back to
think-
his.
I think we get,
budgets
I
that
think
we're speaking out of,
they're.
but
we'll get
we're still
sick.
gonna need to supplement some because there was extra stuff that we approved and.
But we had budgeted for those projects. For the
Right.
money out of the general fund to do. They were just gonna get money brought back into the general fund.
The court services one, I don't think we budgeted for. That one came later, so
The security part though.
we'll have to cover the county.
Yeah,
portion of that.
the door security project. That one I filed for a grant request. And it came in just before we started this project over here. Safety center, the old safety center project and the courtroom security project. So I got the approval on that from them. You know, I think they pay 70% of it. So
let me get this straight. We had 3 grants then. We had the courtroom, the whole area upstairs. And we had the door, and then did we have court services too?
no,
No.
the money we got from UJS was for the courtroom security project and the door security project.
We haven't got any of that back yet, have we?
Just getting ready to complete both projects until I get them completed.
Okay.
The judges won't sign off on them.
Gotcha. I didn't think I'd seen anything come in, so.
So we'll have the money to do leases, mini split and scanning.
Okay.
But we still have the court services project that we're paying for that wasn't budgeted for previously. So we'll still have to do a supplement to Scott's budget either
So,
way.
Yes,
And
yeah,
hopefully,
but there'd be
So-
money there to supplement, it's an IOU.
He is submitting, or have submitted a grant though for that as well.
yeah, well, I'll find out. Well, I go before them on Friday.
But
But
there's
what
a
I'm
cost
saying
that
is
we
there's
have to
still
provide.
gonna be, we'll still be supplementing from county money
Yes,
for the
yes.
the court services project. So we'll have to probably add on that 6,000 for the mini split. Because neither of those things were budgeted for last year for this year, if that makes sense.
Yeah, cause
So,
we didn't know.
right,
that was
we
an
know.
Issue,
Yeah,
just like I said, we didn't know going through all this was gonna be a problem.
So then the other issue. Who she hires.
Yeah, I've got that pulled up. It is on page 42 of the county handbook. It's under employment of relatives, and I'm just reading the second paragraph. The county will not employ any applicant who is related to a current employee in the same county department. This will include a spouse, parent, child, or sibling related by blood, marriage, or adoption. It doesn't give consideration to temporary versus permanent or, full-time, part-time. Of course, it's just it's not law, it's just a handbook that can always be modified, but that's how that's how it reads now.
Now, I would stick with that. If it wasn't a 3 month project,
Cause I'm not gonna
That-
find anybody who wants to.
that was my only,
Yeah,
to get somebody to do that, and you're only talking a couple hours
a day.
a day. Which
Even-
if you hired somebody.
Yeah.
It's a month-long project.
And that was kind of why I was like, well, maybe Maggie can do it because I know that after school until like 7, not even 7, but like 3 to 5, she's free most days. But then there are days that she's got dance team, and you know what I mean. And that's the other thing is, I don't need somebody all day because that's gonna make it go a lot shorter than I need it to. I need it to last 3 months because I have to pay for 3 months. But. And I know that I can tell my daughter, hey, you're doing it wrong, and I'm not you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think to do it the correct way, you'd have to add in some sort of, caveat, some sort of exception to this rule into this county handbook in order to permit.
Cause I don't wanna open a can of worms here.
Right. Understanding what you're saying makes a lot of sense. But I think the way that the handbook, the handbook's even written in a way that it says if employees of the same department marry, one of the couple may transfer to another department if a suitable position is available and offered to that particular employee by another department. If a transfer is not possible, one of the couples must resign. In lieu of resignation, the employee with most seniority will be retained. Even that's pretty. Wow.
Had them sign exceptions before for things though.
No, this handbook was written because of those things.
Have the auditor's office hire.
Well, that's the thing is, I'm sure if other people needed things scanned, she scanned it. We got this. We're gonna get this giant scanner. If anybody needs anything scanned, feel free to bring it on. And that's the other thing is it's gonna live in Linnea's in Noah's old office. We're gonna put it in there.
Just throwing this out, can words be written to modify that, saying that department heads may have discretion?
Commissioners. We're gonna have to leave with the commissioners.
Oh. To allow department heads to hire a family member.
If you were gonna do it.
Yeah, it would take, when would you expect that you're gonna have this scanner here?
End of September is the plan.
So ultimately, I believe in order to, if we're gonna continue this conversation about hiring your daughter, which makes all the sense, I think that we would have to we'd have to modify this language in the handbook, and then we'd have to bring that in front of the commission and permit and go through the process to modify. The
language beginning and the end of the manual anywhere that says subject to exception.
Discretion of the commissioners.
I don't think so. Certainly not within this, subsection of the handbook. It doesn't give any.
I think in general overall in the hand, commission has the authority to suspend or allow exceptions to anything in the hand.
Well, maybe at the beginning.
Let's say page. Let's go to page 1. It's only 60 pages, so I don't.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I don't have it. I don't have the handbook memorized.
Well, why not?
I know. For 2027, I'll put that down.
But you said it's not law, it's policy.
It is policy.
Got another department hired, has a job, she has to go.
Highway department just sends her over there to go do some scanning.
Why would you do that to her? Gotta look out for Maggie here.
So it's,
I mean, like, even for me,
Auditor hires her and she goes over to
I hired
register
to
deeds.
set up the polling place. And I mean, they're not employees at that point. They're just poll workers, but
I don't have that.
But we
How-
pay
how
our
old is Maggie?
poll workers through our
15.
payroll.
they get
right?
paid through accounts payable. They don't go through payroll.
Okay, all right,
So,
all
I
right.
mean, it's,
Maybe let's table that. Maybe the few of us can have a conversation,
Okay.
figure out what that may look like. And
Can she be a contract employee?
well, that's what
I
I'd say.
was thinking
We can
under
have that
scope and
conversation.
purpose, maybe. There's something under scope and purpose, but I don't know if that's just
Right. Well, you're not going to.
very next page.
You're not gonna find somebody for that short
Exactly.
term. And
They
Yeah,
get
I don't
half
know
done
if that's
and
just
walk
like
away.
talking about law, like if law.
Like I said,
supersedes
this,
it,
she does it wrong.
but
I wouldn't feel bad telling her to do it again.
these handbook
Mom,
policies may not
she's
be
used to
applicable
that.
to elected officials.
And you'll make sure she goes to work.
That's all. That's gonna be the problem if the department would hire her, because then she'd be like, you're not my boss.
Well,
Working for the highway department. Hang out on Timber Road.
Page 7 of the handbook, Carrie directed me to it. Employee handbook scope and purpose, and one paragraph reads in its entirety. As a county employee, you agree to conform to all applicable policies, procedures, rules, regulations, statutes, and collective negotiation agreements, period. These handbook policies may not be applicable to elected officials, period. But I think that that's specific to the official, not to the officials' employees. Let me chew on it. Let me come up with a plan. We're meeting again before this is going to become a thing.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to.
And I just want to share that I totally understand why this makes a lot of sense. And I think that it is also always important for us to step back from specific instances like this and then ask ourselves why is a rule like this put on everybody as a blanket? And so I think that just making sure that you think through that as you're coming up with a solution is one of the things that we want these opportunities to be available to all the youth in the county. Therefore, we probably won't get any applicants, but maybe, you know, we include that we will post notice that this opportunity is available and we'll consider applications. I mean, I'm not saying that that has to be a part of it, but just thinking through why do we have rules like this? What are they intended to address? They're supposed to make, you know, they're supposed to make us have a system where everybody can trust that there aren't like favoritism going on. You know, you being extra easy. I mean, nepotism is a bad word for a good reason. So, you know, but none of that is to say I think anything inappropriate is going to happen here. I just think that that should be a part of those discussions. So. Yep.
Well, and I did, you know, when I started this project and I talked to MIS, they were like, well, who's gonna scan it? Because that's a whole nother thing I'd have to talk to them about if they have to provide me somebody. And they're out of Omaha, so I don't know how, but you know, I did ask Carrie, I'm like, would it be possible? I know her schedule. I know she's gonna show up. You know, she's the. So.
Well, if the company provides somebody, it's not gonna be cheap.
Welcome. That's true.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm probably gonna pay, yeah, you're right, I'm gonna pay more and it's gonna get done faster, but then I'm gonna still pay for a scanner to sit in my office, so. Okay. So I should say yes to the scanner and then we'll figure out who's gonna do the scanning?
Yeah.
All right, and then, thanks for that mini split,
Yep.
appreciate that.
Kind of sounds like Michael's gonna be doing the scanning with his
I'm gonna do.
law abiding citizen over there.
Yeah, exactly. Policy abiding.
Well, you know, she was looking for an internship, but I was gonna tell her to come talk to you.
Good. They'll come over.
But I think she's thought better.
Oh.
Dad has maybe showered her.
I tell my kids the same thing.
Yeah.
Anything but law.
It's not all income vacations.
It's none of that, actually. Do you know how many Disney trips I've had this year? Not a good subject.
It's only the beginning of August.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, but I'm just.
It's never again.
Carrie, you're up.
Okay, so, last time we met, which seems like a long time ago, we did the canvas for the runoff election. And remember, we had a few discrepancies between the absentees, like what was processed on election day versus what was on their report. And I just wanted to, for public knowledge out there, I discovered after the fact that those discrepancies were directly attributed to the people who changed their political party the day after the election. So they changed their party, then I ran the reports. And it's like a time sensitive thing. It's a real time thing. So that's why we were different at the canvas. And so going forward now, I know to run the reports on election day and not the day after. So so that's the only update I had.
Okay.
Like I was,
Yeah.
I was able to actually take the reports that the poll workers used for the absentees on election day and compare the names. And then look up those people and see that they had changed their party that very next day, so.
Lane. Wake up.
There's three things on there, so
Homeland Security Grant.
Homeland Security. Whether or not you know it, we are switching or in the process of switching all of the email websites to .gov, which is a more secure form of email and everything else. Secure South Dakota is paying the vast majority of the email transfer. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that.
When do our emails change then?
It's not probably gonna be for a couple more months yet. But the website is a completely different beast, and in 2025, I applied for a grant to do all of this for $16,000. And through federal whatevers, it got forgotten about until like a month ago. And then the money came in. So what I'm asking for is the authority to sign the Homeland Security Agreement that will pay for what Secure South Dakota does not pay for. So the whole transfer to .gov will be free to minimal. So
Entertain a motion, to allow him to sign.
I move to approve, to allow Lane to sign the Homeland Security grant application.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Who seconded? I'm sorry. Instead.
Yep.
Thanks.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Pose same sign, motion passes. Subrecipient certification of compliance with foreign national vetting.
yes, a new regulation has come from the feds about the money that repays half of my salary, that we have to vet for foreign or illegals possessing a job that is funded by that money. In our case, it's only me. According to Carrie, we do everything. We check the status and all of that anyway.
You do I-9 verifications and.
Yes,
Yep.
it's an I-9 basically.
Yep.
So I just need to have you guys sign that, verifying that those policies are in action. Everything is. I'm sure, yes.
Do you have a copy of that or Carrie? Is that up? So I'll entertain a motion to allow me to sign this.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Sure he's up to date.
Sure that we've got his documents on file, so, yeah.
I think I'm okay.
Think so. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion passes. Then we have local emergency planning grant.
Yeah, this is again, the grant that pays for half my salary. It's the 2027 version. I sent it to Carrie, I'm assuming maybe it got corrected from Microsoft, but it looks very similar to previous years.
I previously have done more comprehensive reviews. It looks to be identical, and as is tradition, it's not like we're gonna be able to compel a lot of changes.
Yeah. So, although it's just a bunch of widget counting, it is money, so. Recommend that you or maintain the project.
Move to approve the LEMPG grant.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All same sign, motion passes. Okay. Do you want this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I had one small question. So I noticed in all of these, there's quite a bit of language about compliance with executive orders and things like that. But all of that is things that are already wrapped into existing contracts we've already signed many, many times. Or what anything other than what's specified there would be contradicting state law that, you know, prevents us from being a sanctuary jurisdiction. So I was reading pretty carefully and I wasn't excited about necessarily everything that I saw in there, but I also just wanted to clarify that it's nothing new. Correct.
It's the only thing that was new was the amendment that went through last year that you guys signed that basically said we would not hinder ICE.
Yep.
That's the only thing that's been.
Yeah, and that and hindering ICE in an official capacity would contravene state law as well, correct?
Yes.
Yep. So. Thank you.
Okay, Brent, resolution 2026-21 for 2027 Bridge Improvement Grant Program Resolution. I see submission of applications.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's just new form for that big program for that 5 years, so.
Move to approve resolution 2026-21. And allow the chairman to sign.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's a resolution.
Oh,
There we go.
sorry, roll call.
Mochler,
Yes.
Graylobe.
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Easy,
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Resolution 2026-22, resolution to delete bridge from the National Bridge Inventory. For structure 14-010-063.
Since Township Road that's been vacated.
It's,
something like
yeah,
that.
it's been vacated for, 14 and a half years I've been there. I've only seen the bridge once. And, Vanessa from Alltech, she was inspecting bridges and she called and asked if I knew my, farm it now because there's just cattle on there and there's a key, it's locked but yet since it's on the registry, they still gotta go and inspect it. And so it's like, might as well delete this instead of paying Alltech to go and inspect a bridge that's already closed.
Yeah. I'll entertain a motion to sign this resolution.
Move and approve the signature of the resolution 2026-22 to delete bridge.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mochler.
Yes.
Graylobe,
Yes.
Brady,
Yes.
Easy,
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Application for payment number 1 for the asphalt surface treatment for $809,836.11.
And that's just for the chip seal and the striping ain't on that, so it should be another payment coming. And they did get everything striped and everything looks pretty good, so. Did a pretty good job.
Awful like that, real nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes my trip back to Wakanda looking.
Entertain a motion to approve it.
I'll move to approve. Second payment.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes. Fuel quotes.
Brunix came in the cheapest at $354. Move to approve.
Brunix.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, motion passes.
It's gonna let you guys know that put weight limits up on 313 over the Clay Creek Bridge there. We put up a weight limit by a 19 and 313, so give people notice. And then on north of Meckling, on the oil road there, on the gravel, put a their weight limit there. And then 2 at the bridge, 1 on the bluff, and 313, and then a mile to the west from the bridge there. So. But I have talked to Holloway and they're gonna give me a quote. And about going in and fixing the end caps. And if they do that, they're talking, maybe pouring new abutments and stuff like that, doing some extra work. And they're saying that maybe if, with the price comes back and it's doable, they could probably squeeze it in this fall, maybe. But if we did put it on a 5-year plan for that 5-year, or for the big program. But if we do that, I was talking to Vanessa, she said, realistically, it'd probably be like 3 years before we even get to doing anything on that bridge. So I don't know, Holloway's might be the better way, but we'll just have to wait for that quote to come back and see what it is.
Okay.
And Frog Creek, the culvert project there, they moved it back again, so now they're talking late September, early October. So should be about right in time for harvest and all the traffic and stuff, so should work out nice. Guarantee there shouldn't be any phone calls
When do they have to have this done?
by December 1st. Getting close. That's all I got.
Okay.
Wish I
Thank
had
you.
better news. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Oh, she's gonna, he's gonna send 2 of those. Okay.
Thanks, have a good one.
Okay, that's it. We just have a meeting next Tuesday on the 25th.
Accounts payable.
Oh, vouchers, sorry, vouchers.
Pay the vouchers.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. We get to see the department monthly reports and recent payroll changes.
Yeah, actually, I just because we are having such a short meeting today. I just wanted to ask, I don't know why, but recently I've not looked closely. Could you just briefly clarify, Andy, the 3, so you've got a disbursement report. You've got a disbursement report with no one listed as dispersed to, then you've got a disbursement report with dispersed to Clay County Treasurer. And then there is a receipt income report. And it just briefly explain how those reports relate to each other. Cause I saw things that looked like they showed up on one and not on another. And I just realized that I wasn't here on exactly what I was looking at there.
Income report is all the money I received in the previous month.
Okay.
And then the disbursement report is all the money I dispersed in the previous month. And I remember, gosh, I've been doing this a long time because Ralph Westergaard asked, well, you're not coming out balanced. Well, no, because I dispersed the money I receive the next month. Okay, so generally in the first week of each month, this goes back to when Kathy was treasurer. She just asked for 1 disbursement a month. This is fees I receive for serving warrants, serving civil process, boarding inmates, doing law enforcement in other towns, things like that. So these are all fees that I receive in a month. And I just give you a list of everything that I receive, or at least a tally of it. I don't itemize them. That would be a very long report. And then after the end of the month, I reconcile my bank account, make sure all my books are right. Typically aren't errors, but if there are, I'd fix it. And then I disperse all that money to the treasurer. So that's always in the next month.
Okay.
So then there's 2 disbursement reports, and this goes back, Phyllis said, I don't care about all the money you give the clerk of courts or whatever. I just want to know what you give the county. So I do 2. And the one is all the money that I dispersed just to anybody, all the money that went back out of my account, which is everything that goes in. It's a zero balance account. So everything that comes in, and it isn't everything that comes in April goes out in May. It doesn't work that way. Right. Sometimes it varies on when it goes out, but I disperse money that we received as bonds for people getting out of jail. money we collect on judgments for some collection company or other citizen, and I disperse that to them. So there's a lot of money that comes that isn't county revenue.
Right, okay.
And that's on the larger report. The one that says dispersed to Clay County Treasurer is county revenue.
Thank you.
And that's money that goes to the treasurer and she does what she does with it.
Thank you very much. I realized that I just wasn't totally clear on that, and I knew there was a simple explanation and one person could provide it, and that's Andy. So thank
I've
you.
honestly kind of wondered, nobody's ever asked me about that.
Yeah, well,
Since Phyllis brought it up.
It also helps me, I think I have an answer to this, but I saw 105,450. So more than $100,000 in SDDOC room and board. And so that's just because we don't receive those every month. We get that, every few months. Cause I divided it out by like our nightly rate. And I was like, are we seriously housing like 35 state inmates this last month? I don't think we were,
We were in the neighborhood of 20.
Oh, okay, that many.
For the past
Right.
few months. It took a while to catch some of those bills. Then when we started billing DOC, I think I talked to you about it when Department of Corrections had their change of heart and how lenient they were with their parolees, and they started picking them up and maxed out Minnehaha County's abilities to their housing with us, and we're charging them for that. We started billing them for that. Then it came that, hey, by the way, you guys owe us some money, because we've historically built Department of Corrections when the parole put somebody in our jail for either a weekend sanction or a week or something, or if somebody gets sentenced to prison and they can't take them, then we have to hold them the first 7 days, then we can bill them after that. So over the years, we've actually billed DOC and they weren't that good about paying them, I guess. It actually wasn't philosophical issue. They had an issue with who does that, and there was some changes and the address was wrong, and so we found all these unpaid invoices and brought their attention to it, and so that's why it was pretty big.
Nice.
And so we kind of caught up a lot of that. We are have a disagreement with them on whether or not they have to pay us to transport their inmates to the doctor. They argue that they don't have any obligation to pay us our staff costs for that, but we do bill the other counties that we hold for the staff to take them across town to the doctor.
Thank you.
Good.
Sure. Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion passes.